Gwangju City, the city's 9th hospital. Armed men patrol the area near the hospital. The girl lies in bed with an oxygen mask on her face. The main character says that recently outbreaks of the disease have become more frequent, so there are more requests. The guy sits and says that's why he decided to take up the old job he once did, and if he can earn enough time capsules, he can transfer his sister to a better hospital. He sits on a chair next to his sister. He smiles and tells his sister not to worry, because everything will be fine. He remembers his sister lying wounded on the ground and many people gathered next to her. The main character clenches his teeth and says that he will find the one who hurt her and make him pay. The director came into the room and was told about the consequences of what would happen if they did not take care of these corpses. The director shouts and asks why they need to process these corpses, because they are worth nothing. He commands to just find a place for them and throw them away. Director Van, with an angry expression, shouts at Lin Ki that it is time to pay. The main character gets up from his seat and asks if the payment date is tomorrow. The director shouts that the price has increased because all the time capsules have already been used up. The main character grits his teeth and tells Van that before this he came up with excuses to raise the price, but now he just takes it and raises it whenever he wants. The director, with an angry expression on his face, approaches the main character and shouts at him to pay or get lost along with his sister, who has already spent a lot of time capsules. The main character's sister lies in a coma and does not respond to dialogue. Van tells Lin Ki that if he leaves this hospital, his sister will definitely die. The main character looks at his sister, a drop of sweat running down his cheek. He and the director shake hands and the numbers on the protagonist's electronic dial decrease. Van looks at his dial and with a smile on his face says that he felt better when he took time for himself. He heads to the exit and shouts to the main character that this is enough for 5 days, and if he doesn't pay, they will be kicked out. There are 13 hours, 16 minutes and 22 seconds left on the protagonist's dial. Lin Ki looks angrily after the departing director, and he thought that he needs to earn more time capsules. 16 years ago, a meteorite fell from the sky. The meteorite caused great destruction and a strange firestorm occurred. Those who touched the firestorm became monsters of time. The man in the brown t-shirt develops cracks on his body and his arm crumbles. He transforms into a monster with dark skin and orange cracks all over his body. The watch on the wrist records the life expectancy of each person and can be traded by interacting with each other. Two men in business suits shake hands, exchanging time. After this happened, time became money. People are having lunch in a cafe. Waitresses in red uniforms are delivering orders. Meals require a 2-hour snack, sweets, milk and tea. One milk tea takes 30 minutes. In the background, people are standing near festive tents. In the foreground, a man is standing with a drink. Even if people want to have a child, they must also pay for 1 year of life or otherwise the child will die. A woman lies in bed with her child in her arms. Those who survived not only had to endure the pain of losing their loved ones, they should also experience much more stress. They have to work hard to earn time capsules to extend their lives, and on the other hand, they need to eat as hunger causes time to shorten even faster. But some have become rich through luck. A newborn baby has a clock with the time of life on his hand. The director screams in fear, 2 drops of sweat running down his face. Van is pressed against the wall and points his finger in the direction of the move, and then asks the main character to look there. If you run out of time, then you will die, and after death you will become time monsters. A man in a hospital gown has orange cracks on his arm. The time monster clenched his teeth and held the door with his hand. The main character, with an alarming expression on his face, wonders what the time monster is doing here and is there really no reliable security here. The time monster wears a metal bracelet on his hand. The main character says that this bracelet is from the room with corpses, and then asks if the bodies are being processed before they become monsters of time. Van screams and asks Lin Ki to protect him in exchange for 3 months of free treatment for his sister. The main character asks if it's really 3 months. The time monster opened its mouth wide and screamed. The time monster runs towards the director. Van put his hands forward and asks to save him. Lin Ki kicks the time monster, which pushes it away. The monster hit the wall from the blow of the main character. The main character took out a combat knife from its sheath. He stabbed the monster and thought that this one had recently turned into a time monster and its rank should be around D2. He adds that he needs to destroy the core to kill it instantly and pierces the monster's chest with a knife. The monster screams loudly in pain. The body of a defeated monster crumbles. Lin Ki sheathes the knife and asks the director if he is okay. Van tells the main character that he didn't expect him to be so strong, and then asks who he works for. Lin Ki extends his hand and is about to say who he works for. The director removes his hand and screams, asking the main character not to touch him. He goes to the entrance and tells the main character not to touch him with the hand with which he killed the monster. The main character stands behind him and reminds him of what he said earlier. The director turns around and tells Lin Ki to get lost if he can't pay in 5 days. The main character thought that he knew that Van was stupid and added that he would die sooner or later. He approaches his sister and with a serious expression on his face, he thought that this area is too dangerous and he cannot allow his sister to stay here, and therefore he must resolve the issue of housing. The main character's phone is on the table. He takes it in his hand and looks at his contact list. He selects a contact and puts the phone to his ear. He is talking on the phone next to his lying sister. The main character looks out the window and says that his name is Lin Ki, and he is a night wanderer whom they wanted to recruit, and he happily accepts their mission, and also asks to send everything they need. In this crazy apocalyptic world, the city of Gwangju, in which there were 4 large nightly detachments, became a refuge for humanity. Sandstorms sweep through the deserted city. The nightly group of Glory protect the city, ensure security, and prevent illegal events. Just like the police, knights in bulletproof vests detain the intruder, fencing off the area. The night defense team acts as city guards, protecting the citizens by preventing the invasion of temporary zombies and monsters. A man with a Kalashnikov assault rifle sits on a barrel. A nightly group of marauders clears the surrounding houses and extracts resources for the city of Gwangju. Armed knights in cars shoot at monsters. The nightly group of wanderers are engaged in single-handedly completing missions in the wilderness and maintaining relations with the city. A man rides across dry lands on a motorcycle. Monsters are drawn to him. People with machine guns guard the passage to the settlement. The main character stands in front of them. He is wearing a hood and a mask. A security guard in black glasses puts his hand forward and asks to see his entry pass. The main character takes off his hood and lowers his mask, and then calling the guard Uncle Liu says his name. The wild area is very dangerous, and ordinary people are prohibited from leaving the city without permission. Liu asks the main character how his sister is doing. The main character replied that she had not woken up yet and asked to let him into the city. Liu pats the main character on the shoulder and agrees to let him through. He tells him to be careful, because recently there have been more roaming monsters here and the bridge towards Ming City has been broken. The main character replies that he will be careful and thanks Uncle Liu. The gates are open for him and he says goodbye to the guard. Liu looks after the main character and thought that with ordinary equipment it is difficult to complete the Wanderer's mission, and besides, he does not have a motorcycle. He adds that the main character is a brilliant knight who almost ended up in an apocalypse training camp, and now has slipped into this. The main character walks through dead desert lands, moving away from the city. Sand particles fly overhead against the background of a brown sky. He looks at his smartphone and says that, as expected, after leaving the city the signal disappeared. He says that the distance between Ming City and Gwangju City is about 80 kilometers and he could return back within a day if he had transportation. But to pay his sister's medical bills he had to sell all his valuable equipment and even his motorcycle. The main character imagined a map showing the path to a populated area. He says that without transport he can only move on foot, and the journey will take him more than 3 days. The main character walks through the city ruins and says that this means that he will have to camp in the wild area for the night. And this is very dangerous and risky. He takes something out of his pocket and says that he hopes that he can find a safe place to temporarily stay for the night. He looks at the item in his hand and says that this is the item that the owner asked him to deliver, and if he can deliver it to Ming City, he will receive 200 days of reward. Lin Ki walks near the destroyed high-rise buildings. The time monster from the alley noticed the main character passing by. The main character turns to the monster and asks him who he is. With a surprised expression on his face, he realized that there was a zombie in front of him. He looks at the zombie with a half-bald head and thought that this place is near the city and a group of marauding knights had to clear this place, and then he wonders how there are still time monsters here. The main character looked closely at the light in the monster's chest and noticed that it must be a D3 rank zombie. He took his knife out of its sheath and took a fighting stance. The time monster jumped at the main character, putting his hand forward. The main character dodges the monster's attack. He swings his knife to strike. A stabbing attack with a knife pierces the monster right through. The crystal in the monster's chest glows brightly. It flies out of his body towards the main character. The yellow golden roots come from a yellow-orange crystal. The main character takes off his hood and reaches for the stone. He holds the crystal in his hand and thought that the chest of a temporary zombie is their weak point. He breaks the crystal by squeezing it tightly in his hand. He thought that by breaking the time crystal, people could absorb the time energy inside. He adds that these temporary zombies, which travel alone, are the easiest to hunt. The dial on the protagonist's hand is filled with yellow energy. The main character's lifespan increases by 130 days. Lin Ki pressed his fist to his chest and said that this is a good reward. The zombies of time growl loudly. 3 zombies are wandering around the main character. The main character hides around the corner and watches them. He thought that he was unlucky, because 3 temporary D5 rank zombies appeared in front of him, and even if he was at the peak of his strength and could only deal with 2 D5 rank zombies, not to mention that now his equipment is not what it was before. Behind the main character is a staircase leading to the upper floors. He adds that fortunately he quickly ran away, and if he had not made it in time, he would have died. Lin Ki climbs the stairs and thought that this place is too dangerous and he should climb the stairs and hide first. He runs out onto the balcony, where a zombie in a blue t-shirt is standing. The main character is surprised because of the surprise when he sees him. The zombie standing in front of him growls loudly. The main character looks at the zombie's chest and says that it is a D7 rank monster. The main character is running down the stairs and thought that he should run, because he will not be able to win and will definitely die if he fights with him. The time zombie runs after Lin Ki. The monster jumps on the main character, who thought that he could not die now because his sister was waiting for him. The zombie opens its mouth near the main character. He bites the main character on the shoulder, causing his mask to come off. Lin Ki tries to push the zombie away from him with his hand and with an angry expression on his face shouts at him to leave him alone. He takes a step to the side. The main character threw the zombie over his shoulder down the stairs. A time zombie hits the partition of the balcony while the main character climbs up. Lin Ki holds onto his bitten shoulder. He climbs onto the roof of the skyscraper, closing the door behind him. The time on his watch is rapidly decreasing. He puts his backpack on the ground and takes something out of it. He hears a zombie banging on the door behind him. Lin Ki reaches for his knife behind his back. He took out his knife and said that there was no other way out and he could only take risks. He takes off his cloak and gets into a fighting stance, and the zombie breaks down the door. The main character and zombies are running at each other. He dodges the time zombie attack. He stabs him in the chest. The knife plunges into the chest, but does not reach the crystal. The zombie's hand reaches for the main character's head. The zombie hit Lin Ki, after which he is pushed into his backpack. The zombie jumps and attacks the main character with a loud roar. Lin Ki gritted his teeth as a bead of sweat ran down his cheek. He kicks the monster that attacked him in the head. Immediately after that, he threw it outside the high-rise building. The time zombie flies down, flying through many floors. The main character looked behind the partition and thought that from such a height a zombie would not die. The main character looks at his watch and thought that there is no point in thinking about it, because he is already too wounded and even God cannot save him. The time on the clock dial quickly approaches 0. The main character, with a sad expression on his face, mentally apologized for not being able to protect his sister. The dial on the clock sped up even more. He apologizes for still not being able to find that scoundrel to avenge her. There are only 16 days left on the dial. The main character looks at the object on his hand and apologizes to the customer for not being able to complete this task. There are 9 days left on the electronic dial. Lin Ki clenched his hand into a fist. There are only 2 days left on the electronic dial. The main character cries and presses his hand to his chest. There is 1 second of life left on the electronic dial. An electronic image appears in front of him in the form of an object in his hand. Golden streams of energy come from the protagonist's fist. A blue notification appears in front of the main character with the inscription that the time system is being activated. The guy wonders what it is. He stands in front of the system windows that appear. He puts his hand through the notice and wonders if the stone has become a system. He looks at his watch and the time on it is no longer decreasing. He looks at his shoulder and notices that his wound has healed. The system notifies the main character that it is activated and confirms his information. A notification appears with the name of the main character, with his strength equal to D6 and with a lifetime that is equal to 1 second. A system window appears with slots for character items. The main character's inventory opens. It stands surrounded by 3 windows of the system. Lin Ki sees a notification in front of him that he has received a rookie package and opens it, wondering if he is dreaming. He receives a D-rank weapon, a hot flame dagger, as well as D-rank silent boots and a D-rank skill book, Mountain Crushing Fist. The system notifies the main character that the system's items can only be used by him and asks whether the main character wants to use them. The guy presses the accept button. A D-rank burning flame dagger materializes in front of the protagonist, which can increase the temperature using its elemental ability. Silent D-rank boots materialize, increasing speed and reducing noise generated when moving. A skill book appears, Mountain Crushing Fist, which with the help of elemental power, he can increase the power of his fist. The main character equips himself with items from the system. He raises his hands at shoulder level and notices that this is not an illusion, but reality. The monster in the blue t-shirt rises up, and the main character turns to him. The time zombie opens its mouth and growls. The main character thought that, as expected, this monster did not die. He gets into a fighting stance and thinks that even though he got 2 upgraded weapons, this is still a D7 rank zombie, and his lifespan is only 1 second. Lin Ki focuses his attention on the enemy and thinks that he should be careful because he will die if he takes damage. A zombie with a broken leg heads towards the main character. The main character says that the broken leg of a time zombie will affect his speed. He adds that he can definitely win if he is careful. The monster swings its fist at the protagonist, who dodges its blow. The main character swings his weapon and says that he can definitely win if he is careful. The main character's blade is enveloped in flames, and he thought that he did not believe that this time he would not be able to pierce through the enemy. The crystal inside the zombie glows brightly with a golden light. Lin Ki used an improved skill, Mountain Crushing Fist. The zombie's body falls to the ground, along with the time crystal. The main character looks at his hand and says that with the combination of the Mountain Crushing Fist skill and the weapon, Burning Flame Dagger, he does so much damage. He adds that before it was such a frightening zombie, but now he was killed by it with 1 blow, and even though he was weakened, the main character has become stronger. He picks up the time crystal from the floor. He squeezes the crystal in his hand, after which golden streams of energy emanate from it. The time increases to 169 days. Game system notifications appear. The first notification congratulates the main character on increasing his strength to D1 rank and receiving a reward of 1 lottery ticket. The second notification informs you that a D-rank store has been unlocked. The main character with the open system interface says that he cannot believe that his strength has not increased for a long time, but now it has increased after killing a D7 rank time monster. He adds that facing life and death challenges is the fastest way to level up. The main character opens the store page and says that the lottery drawing is easy to understand, and then wonders what the D-rank store is for. Items in the store are not available for purchase. The main character says that there is even a gene potion and a mental spirit potion, which is very convenient. A notification appears that the main character will have an unlimited number of chances to receive the lottery, and offers to start issuing the reward. The system notifies you when you receive a divine rank supernatural seed, which ignores physical awakening and can force people to awaken a particular element. The main character gritted his teeth and thought that this thing could forcibly awaken the elements. He adds that he heard that physical awakening and elemental awakening cannot coexist together, no one can have both. The main character imagines a bald man raising his hand to strike. Physical awakening 1 out of 10 will awaken the power of an element that can strengthen the physical body, and the person will gain terrifying combat abilities. The hooded man puts his hands forward and controls the flame. Elemental awakening 1 in 100 awakens mental power, allowing them to create elemental power. Some can control water, some can control fire. A notification about the used seed appears. The protagonist's hand is enveloped in crackling electrical energy. The elements are divided into water, fire, wood, earth, ice, and lightning, which is the rarest element. A notification appears stating that the current elemental power is equal to rank D1. No matter what type of awakening a person has, they start at the lowest rank. The main character looks at his hand and thought that now he has physical strength and elemental power, and now he will be able to hunt time zombies even faster. The character information interface now displays the D1 rank of elemental power. He puts on his cloak and mentally told his sister to wait for him. A hooded figure appears behind the main character and asks him if he is alive. A girl with blue hair and red eyes appears before him. Lin Ki asks her if he is the customer. The girl with a dissatisfied expression on her face asks to stop calling her a customer, because her name is Zhu Wai. Lin Ki put his hands forward and says that the problem is not what her name is, but why she is here. The girl replies that she was worried and that's why she followed. A drop of sweat appears on the protagonist's face and he says that he accidentally lost an object. Zhu Wai asks if he really lost her mom's birthday present so she almost died to get it. The girl remembers running away from a crowd of zombies. The main character, with a serious expression on his face, asks where she got this stone. The girl says that she found it and picked it up because it looked beautiful and decided to give it to her mother for her birthday. She adds that now the main character will have to pay her. Lin-Ki thought that she seemed to know nothing about that stone. The girl shows 3 fingers and says that she gave the main character 300 days as payment for delivery and asks to return 300 days to her. The main character looks at his watch where there are only 196 days and says that this is reasonable, but now he doesn't have that many. The main character puts his hand on the back of his head and smiles, and then asks if he can pay 100 days first and give the rest later. The girl agrees with him. They shake hands and the time value on the protagonist's watch decreases. The girl looks at her watch with 260 days and thought that she accidentally picked up this stone and no one needed it, even in a jewelry store, but she earned 300 days for free. Zhu Wei points his finger at the main character and tells him to remember, because he still owes her 200 days and if he dares to run away, she will sue. Lin-Ki agrees with her words. The girl turns around and says that then she will leave first. The main character extends his hand to her and asks her where she got this stone. The girl replies that it is near the Manhwa bridge, which was blown up by people. Her main character is why she said that it was blown up, because earlier there was information that it was destroyed by toxic rain. The girl stands near the entrance to the skyscraper and says that it's because she was there and saw it with her own eyes, and then says goodbye and says that it's time for her to return to the city. The main character thought that the bridge had been blown up. Zhu Wei thought with a thoughtful look that it looked like she would have to figure out how to find a night wanderer with a car to return back to Ming City. Time zombies walk around the destroyed city. The main character is hiding from them around the corner. He watches the girl and wonders how she managed to escape from these monsters. He concentrates the lightning energy in his hand and thought that he had little time left and so he better hurry up and kill a couple of creatures. One of the zombies approaches the main character. Lin-Ki thought that now, if he was careful, he could kill 3D5 level monsters at the same time. The main character runs around the corner and raises his fist. He put his palm, enveloped in the power of lightning, forward. He touched the zombie and crackling energy spread through his body. He punches right through the zombie's torso with his attack. The main character holds a time crystal in his hand. Through the hole in the zombie, you can see the main character smiling and saying that it's as easy as taking candy from a child. 2 other zombies head towards the main character. The hand with the main character's blade is enveloped in golden streams of power. He raises his fist up and attacks his enemies. He looks at his blade. 3 defeated zombies lie behind him. He notes that he got so much loot in such a short time and adds that with his current strength, he can defeat even level D6 zombies. The main character has 519 days of life on the clock. He smiles and says that this is a great way to get a head start to earn some more time before returning so they can move to the outside area and change hospitals for their sister. The city is divided into 4 regions from the inside to the outside, namely, the central region, the inner, the outer, and the closer to the outer, the more dangerous. A sandstorm sweeps through the city. The main character passes by a dead time zombie. Lin-Ki opens the game system inventory. The main character is about to buy a Class D genetic potion, and the system asks for confirmation of purchase. He confirms his purchase by clicking on a button in the interface. A notification appears informing you that the purchase has been made. The potion materializes in the main character's hand. He drinks the contents of the glass vessel. System informs about an increase in strength to D8 and a reward in the form of a lottery. Lin-Ki clenches his hand into a fist and says that he drank 4 bottles of genetic potion and finally switched from D7 to D8, which is a little expensive, but still much faster than regular training. He adds that if he trained on his own, he would not have reached the next rank in a year. The main character looks at the notice for the purchase of a Class D healing potion and says that he has been killing monsters all day and has wounds that he has superficially treated, but this is not enough and therefore he should buy the potion. Lin-Ki drinks a healing potion. Apart from water and food, the most valuable items outside the city are medical supplies, and although absorbing time crystals is beneficial, if you are not careful, you will end up with more time lost than time earned. The main character uses the system with a serious expression and says that although it is a little expensive, it will save more time than conventional treatment. He uses the lottery received for increasing his rank. A notification appears to inform you that you have received D rank Impact Arm Defense. The Rising Fist bracers materialize and can be used as a shield, which can greatly enhance your penetration ability in an instant. The main character equips the bracers and says that he has received another improved weapon in combination with the blade, the attack technique and its D8 power, thanks to which he can kill D9 rank zombies with one blow. The main character stands among the ruins and says that it is getting dark and it's time to return. He turns around and hears someone screaming for help. He emerges from the ruins of the building. Lin-Ki looks at Zhu-Wei running away from the zombie and wonders if it is her. The girl runs into the building and slams the door behind her. The zombies break the windows and reach out to the girl. The girl with anxiety on her face thought that this was the end. The main character behind the door tells the girl that everything is fine and she can go out. The girl notices that the voice seems familiar. Lin-Ki holds a time crystal in his hand while the girl looks out of the building. She sees the main character surrounded by defeated zombies. He asks if she wanted to come back and why the zombies were chasing her. Zhu-Wei says that she hired a knight on the road to take her back to Manhwa, but she didn't know it would be so dangerous. She adds that his motorcycle broke down on the way, and they were attacked by a bunch of time zombies, so all she could do was escape. The main character tells her to wait and asks where she wanted to return. The girl covers her mouth with her palms and answers that she is in the city of Gwangju. The main character looks at her embarrassed face and tells her that she was talking about Manhwa, so he has a guess. The girl asks what assumption he is talking about. Lin-Ki props up his chin and says that he assumes that the delivery of the item was just a ruse and she wanted him to accompany her to Manhwa, but did all this because delivery costs less than an escort. He adds that she chose him because he does not have a means of transportation and it is more convenient to follow him. The girl with concern on her face asks what this nonsense is and does he really not trust people at all. The main character points his palm in her direction. The girl falls to the ground and screams asking not to hit her. Lin-Ki extends his hand to her and says that he is returning to the city and asks if she wants to go with him or if she wants to spend the night here alone. The girl pointed her hands to the sides and agreed with the main character. The main character asks what kind of person agreed to bring her to Manhwa. The girl follows him and says that his name was Hu Yu and he was a D8 knight errant, but he is probably dead now. The main character stops and calls the name Hu Yu. The main character made a surprised expression when he thought about it. He closes his eyes with a sad expression on his face. Hu Yu was his teammate for 2 months, a good person, and the motorcycle that Lin-Ki was forced to sell was repaired by Hu Yu. Over the years, Lin-Ki had witnessed the death of countless people, both strangers and close friends, so he was used to it. This world is very cruel. The main character and the girl are heading towards the city. They almost reach the city gates. The main character is talking to Uncle Liu while the girl behind him is looking at her watch. The girl tells the main character that everything in Gwangju is so neglected. They are not at all friendly to foreigners, and every time you enter or leave, you have to pay for 3 days. She adds that Manhwa City is much better. The main character puts his hand forward and tells her that her city is very greedy, and outsiders need to pay for 5 days. The girl with a worried expression on her face says how does she know, because she is not a stranger there. She presses the button on the suit near the neck. The appearance of her clothes immediately changes to something else. The appearance of the clothing changes to a light dress. She stretches and says that she is finally comfortable, and the windproof mode of this dress is very uncomfortable. The main character looked at the girl. She crossed her arms and asked the main character what he was staring at. Lin-Ki props up her chin and says that he didn't notice before, but she's beautiful and has a great figure. The girl straightens her hair and says that she is naturally beautiful. The main character says that the bridge to the city is broken, and an alternative route leads through the dead zone. He adds that he has friends who know this area very well and he can introduce her to them if necessary. After the firestorms, the ecology was destroyed, and much of the area and outside the city turned into desert with hidden quicksand, which became a restricted area. Zhu-Wei, with a carefree expression on her face, tells the main character not to worry and that she will figure it out on her own. The main character gives her a card and says that this is his home address and if she has problems, she can tell him. Lin-Ki says goodbye to the girl and tells her that they will see each other again. The girl made a dissatisfied expression on her face and thought that she needed to return as soon as possible and it would be better to die at the hands of her mother than in the Gwangju slums. The main character approaches the hospital building. The guy runs out of the hospital asking for help. He shouts that there are still people there. The main character with a serious expression says that his sister is in danger. He runs past many people leaving the hospital grounds. Lin-Ki looks into his sister's room. She lies in bed, still unconscious. The main character looks at her and says that everything is fine. Director Van runs into the room of the protagonist's sister. Director Van asks the protagonist to protect him with a smile on his face. Lin-Ki is wary and asks her if she seriously thinks that he will believe him. The director holds the main character's hand and tells him that he will give back 300 days. The main character's clock now has 1035 days. He looks at his watch and realizes that Van really gave 300 days and seems seriously scared. The main character turns to the director and asks why this happens in the hospital. Van replies that due to funding they cannot afford to process the bodies. Zombies enter the hospital room, and Lin Ki asks if this is because of his greed. 3 zombies in hospital wards are heading towards people. The main character materializes his molten blade. He runs towards the zombies with his weapon drawn. In the dance of battle, he quickly defeats all enemies. He clenches his fist and with a smile on his face says that 1d3 and 2d1 are just trash for him now. The director does not react in any way to what is happening in front of him. He clenched his teeth and lowered his gaze. The time crystal glows brightly in Van's chest. The main character clenches his fist and says that he will pass this on to his sister and transfer her to a better hospital. The main character's clock now has 1385 days. The director, turned into a time zombie, jumps on Lai Ki. The main character dodges, and the director leaves cracks on the floor with his fists. He thought with an angry expression that this guy had turned into a time zombie due to an unnatural death when he had more than 20,000 days under his belt. There are 20,527 days on the director's clock. Van is furious and rips off his clothes. Natural death is death from old age or death from illness that occurs over time. In this case, although it is possible to transform time into life, the probability of this is low. Accidental death or fatal injury in which a person dies before time runs out despite having had many days. In case of unnatural death, the more time left at the time of death, the greater the likelihood of turning into a temporary zombie, the more powerful it is. Lin Ki stands in front of the zombie director and says that with all this time, if the transformation is complete, then he is a level C6 zombie and must be killed before he fully transforms. Otherwise it will be a disaster for the entire city. The main character screams and asks the system to activate his boots and armlets. He swings his hand with the blade and shouts that this is a blow that breaks mountains. He hit the director and golden streams of energy emanated from the point of impact. The fist hit the monster's hand. The main character with an angry expression on his face thought that a zombie had blocked his blow. The time zombie hit Lin Ki and he is pushed back due to the impact. The main character coughs up blood due to a strong blow from an enemy. He lies next to the bed with his sister and says that his strength as a zombie is terrifying, since he has almost completely transformed. The main character asks the system to open a store. The system interface with the store's assortment appears in front of him. The main character is surprised because he saw something. He found a Tier D strongest shot pistol that costs 500 days. An evil monster looks at the main character while streams of smoke emanate from him. Lin Ki says that he is buying healing potions and a powerful shot pistol. Notifications for purchasing items appear. The number of days on the clock decreases first to 1325 and then to 725. Director Van runs towards the main character. Lin Ki points the gun at the director and tells him to go away. He shoots and hits the zombie in the chest. Cars and people in military uniforms appear in front of the hospital building. Knight Captain of Glory Li Zhang gets out of the car and asks how the situation is. The soldier next to him salutes and says that there is commotion inside, which, according to initial estimates, was caused by 5 temporary zombies. Li Zhang commands to block the exits and kill all the zombies, from which you can get dozens of time crystals. The captain hears the sounds of gunfire coming from the hospital. The captain asks 2 guys to follow him, and one of the soldiers says that it was a shot. The Knight Captain runs to the entrance to the building. There are military trucks and cars near the hospital building. One of the knights with a knife blocked the zombie attack, and the other runs with 2 pistols towards the zombies. A guy in glasses with pistols shoots at zombies. A knight with a knife pierces the enemy's torso with a piercing blow. The zombie gritted his teeth as his time crystal was destroyed. The knight with the knife says that, unfortunately, his code of honor tells him that when meeting with time zombies, the priority is to acquire a time crystal. The guy with the gun says not to worry, because even if the time crystal is taken away, they will still be confiscated. 3 zombies at the far end of the corridor are running towards the knights. Li Zhang stands on the stairs and says that the shots came from the eastern side of the 3rd floor and so he will go check it out, and commands the 2 knights to take care of the rest. Li Zhang runs up the stairs. There is a sign on the door that says floor 3 Fahrenheit and asks you to be quiet. The Knight Captain opens the door and enters the floor. The main character holds a time crystal in his hand, and the captain runs out from around the corner. Li Zhang is surprised when he sees the main character. The main character stands next to Van's corpse. The Knight Captain asks the main character why he is here. Lin Ki squeezes the crystal and calls the Knight uncle. He says that his sister was in this hospital. Li Zhang used to be a wanderer, so he can be considered a colleague of the main character. The Knight Captain looks at the defeated director and asks if the main character himself neutralized him, because he died an unnatural death and received level C. The main character straightens his sister's blanket and says that the director has not yet fully transformed and he just took advantage of the moment. Li Zhang thought that even if the transformation is not completed, he still belongs to Class C, and it takes a lot of strength to defeat him. Most likely Lin Ki has already outgrown level D. The main character with a smile on his face asks his uncle why he is here. Li Zhang with a smile on his face says that he was promoted to the Knights of Glory half a month ago and is now in charge of this area. A zombie appears behind the knight. The main character screams and alerts the Knight Captain about a zombie that has suddenly appeared. The timed zombie opens its mouth and prepares to bite. The main character pulls out a gun from behind his back. Lin Ki shoots the zombie and hits it in the head. Li Zhang kicks a zombie with his foot. He shoots the zombies with his pistol. The shot leaves a hole in the zombie's torso. The captain puts his hand forward, tells the main character that they haven't seen each other for a long time and asks if he has reached rank D8. Lin Ki puts the gun behind his back and says that he just crossed over and asks if he can help. Li Zhang refuses to help with a smile on his face and says that this is the work of the Knights of Glory and adds that they will talk when everything is finished. The main character agrees with a dissatisfied expression on his face. 10 minutes later, the Knight Captain reads the information from the electronic device and says that 63 people have died unnatural deaths, but 28 time crystals have been converted, and the loss rate is getting higher and higher. Li Zhang hands the device to his subordinate and asks the main character if he is okay. The main character says that everything is fine while the doctor examines him. He looks at his watch with 12 days and says that several converted crystals have returned a lot of money to him. The captain of the Knights tells his subordinates that they can leave first, after which they salute. The main character and Li Zhang are left alone. The captain of the Knights took a closer look at the main character and asks him where the gun is. The main character, with an alarming expression on his face, says that he found him outside the city a couple of days ago. In this world, long-range weapons that are extremely lethal must be numbered and strictly regulated. The captain of the Knights tells the main character not to forget to hide it and adds that fortunately, only he saw it, otherwise he would have been in trouble. A drop of sweat runs down the protagonist's face and he agrees with the captain. Lin Ki turns his head away, and Li Zhang says that in the future he should be more careful and not use weapons in front of people. The captain of the Knights looks at the protagonist's sister and says that 6 months ago his sister had an accident, and he applied for a long leave to look after her. He adds that he thought that the main character would sit still, but did not expect that he would not only keep up, but would even be on the verge of surpassing him. The main character puts his hand on the back of his head and tells Li Zhang that he still has a long way to go. The captain of the guard tells the main character that he is being modest. With a serious expression on his face, he tells him that he will not be able to train and take care of his sister at the same time and therefore will waste his talent. He crosses his arms and says that it just so happens that the Doomsday training camp is recruiting again and he thinks that he should try, and if the main character is accepted, it will be quite good. Lin Ki thought of the Doomsday camp with a surprised expression. In the face of an ever-increasing apocalyptic crisis, it is important to develop truly strong people. 5 years ago, the top management decided to create a Doomsday training camp, and those who were selected were given better treatment and resources. A multi-story building is located against a background of blue sky. Every year there is a single intake for the Doomsday camp, and only selected young people under the age of 18 who have exceptional talent are selected. Last year Lin Ki participated, but unfortunately did not qualify. A dark-skinned teacher stands in front of many people lined up in formation. The main character looks at his sister and thought that if he does end up in the camp, he will not only be under protection, but his family too. He adds that if he is chosen, his sister will be able to be treated at the research center's exclusive hospital, and thus he will no longer have to worry about his sister's safety. The main character thanks Li Zhang and tells him that he will think about it. The captain of the Knights tells the protagonist that he is sure that he still needs to do something and therefore will go first. The main character says goodbye to Li Zhang. He clenched his hand into a fist and thought that he would definitely end up in the Doomsday training camp. Jinxu, once a luxurious area, is now almost deserted, having been built on the outer edge of the city. The main character walks in the direction of a residential building. Currently, there are many more houses than there are people, and you can live in any of them. Lin Ki chose a place in the middle of the block, on the bottom floor, to have more time to react in case of danger. He goes up the stairs, floor 3 Fahrenheit. He walked into his apartment and closed the door behind him. He takes off his t-shirt and says that the pain in his chest is no longer so strong, and it seems to him that he is getting used to it. Water flows from the shower faucet. The main character washes in the shower. Steam rises in the room. The main character walks around his apartment in slippers. He dries himself off with a towel and asks the system to open up shop. He lies down on the sofa and looks at the system interface, saying that the effect of the healing potion from here is good. It is as effective as a 200-day bottle of healing potion sold on the street. He adds that there is a rule in the system that he can only use what he buys for himself, otherwise he can earn time by selling potions. Lin Ki looks at his watch and says that in order to get the right to live in the outer region, he needs to pay a deposit of 300 days per person, which is enough for him and his sister to come. The main character looks through the store window and says that then he will use the rest to upgrade. He switches the store page and says that he just went up 2 levels in a row, and his control over power has already weakened a little, and so he can't increase his power anymore, and in that case, he can try to level up his abilities first. An information window appears with a level D psychotropic potion, which instantly improves mental abilities and costs 500 days. The main character says that the psychotropic potion can be used to improve mental abilities, with the help of which the power of skills can be further increased. An information window appears with level D Starry Sky Meditation, which allows you to rethink all skills to improve them and mental abilities with a cost of 2,000 days. The main character with a serious expression on his face says that unfortunately, he doesn't have much money. He sits down on the sofa and commands the system to buy a psychotropic potion. The main character drinks the potion and says that a bottle of psychotropic potion worth 500 days could not raise his mind power to the D2 level. With an angry expression on his face, he asks the system to buy another bottle of the psychotropic drug. The system congratulates the main character for increasing his mind power level to D2 and getting a chance to win the lottery. Lin Ki closes his eyes and is enveloped in golden energy. He props up his chin and says that to increase the level to D2 it took 2 bottles of spirit potion, so it's not surprising that meditation is so expensive, but without money he won't be able to buy it. He adds that in any case, there is good news, because with each increase in his score, he can play the lottery. The main character asks the system to play a lottery. The main character comes across the Starry Sky Meditation. He smiles and says that he is lucky, because in the store this meditation costs 2,000 days. He clenches his fists and says that when his mind power catches up with his strength level, he can become invincible, and even if he is still at D level, he will still be able to deal with C-level enemies. With a serious expression, he commands the system to use Starry Sky Meditation. A golden stream of energy emanates from the skill book, which swirls around the meditating protagonist. He turns to the door, where someone is knocking. In this post-apocalyptic world, the marginal zone is very dangerous due to poverty. There are often robbers who fraudulently take away time, and therefore you need to be careful. The main character approaches the front door and asks who is there. He looks through the peephole and sees Zhu Wei, who asks him to open the door and let her inside. He looks at her with an angry expression and asks how she is doing. She folds her hands behind her back and reminds the main character that he told her that she could contact her if she needed help. The main character sits on the sofa and asks the girl if she was deceived. She sits on the chair opposite and says that this is exactly what happened, and then adds that a night wanderer named Zhao, who had a motorcycle, said that he could deliver it back to Ming safe and sound in 200 days, but he asked for money give ahead. The girl says that after she paid in full, he told her to wait there and went to bring the motorcycle, and then disappeared. The main character, with a serious expression on his face, says that she really contacted them herself and did not contact them through the order. Zhu Wei looks at her watch. There are 9 days left in the day and says that she has very little time left and she had no choice but to come to the main character. The main character extends his hand to the girl and says that he lost her goods and paid for 100 days and will now return the rest. The number of days on the girl's watch increases. She looks at her hand and says that anyway she cannot return to her city. The main character thought that if it weren't for her, he would not have received this system and then would have been in the same position. He asks if she is a fighter and what level she is. The girl says that she has D5. The main character said that if she herself wants it and if she has enough strength, then he can introduce her to people who will help her find work among the knights. The girl with enthusiasm on her face asks what kind of work it is, which makes the main character feel uncomfortable. She tried to find a job to cover her expenses, but eventually found that finding a good job was too difficult. Lin Ki says that, for example, his sister was in a car accident and is unconscious, so he needs someone to look after her and protect her. The girl clenched her hand into a fist and with a smile on her face said that she could handle it. The main character asks the girl to let him evaluate her first and asks her to attack him. The girl gets into a fighting stance and tells him to be careful as she won't hold back. She makes the move with a menacing expression on her face. Lin Ki dodges her blow. She trips her, causing her to trip. The girl falls to the ground and closes her eyes. She holds her head and asks the main character how he can treat girls like that, because it's uncivilized. The main character asks if she rose to level D5 by relying on medicine. A psychic practices the power of the mind, which enhances the ability to manipulate a person's mind and to achieve physical strength. People strengthen their body and learn new techniques, but with a strong physique and without a fighting base, one cannot be a real fighter who can cope with difficulties. Lin Ki thought with a serious expression that this girl was probably the eldest daughter from one of the families. He takes the girl by the hand and tells her that she is too weak and asks how she managed to get out of the building without being noticed by the temporary zombies. The girl with concern on her face cannot answer normally. The main character put his hand to the side and says that everyone has their own secrets and she doesn't have to tell him. The girl says that she has a thing that makes her invisible, but it only works on temporary monsters that are 3 levels stronger than her. The main character turns away and says that starting tomorrow, she will be responsible for caring for his sister and her daily salary will be 2 days. The girl agrees with the main character and raises her hand. This salary is already very high even for the outside area, and under normal circumstances the daily salary of ordinary people is 35 hours. Zhu Wei smiles and says that although this guy is strange, he is not a bad person. The main character opens the door and says that she can go and adds that she can come tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. so that he can take her to the hospital. The girl crosses her arms and asks if accommodation is included and adds that the main character definitely has some space. The main character asks her where she lived before. The girl raises her index finger and says that she lived in Silton. The main character is surprised and thought that Silton is a 5-star hotel, and the nightly rate is 10 days, which is really luxurious. Lin Ki props up her chin and asks if she will live here and asks if a beautiful girl should not be afraid when she is left alone with a man. She smiles and says that she is not afraid, because if he wanted to do something, he would have done it long ago. The main character grits his teeth and tells the girl to stay. The next day, there are many skyscrapers in the city, some of which are on fire. The main character and the girl pass near the guard with an army vehicle. Lin Ki and the girl look around. The main character asks whether the danger has increased because of yesterday's incident. They head to room 311. They look at the protagonist's sister. He says that Zhu Wei's job is to look after her here, and in a few days he will hire another person to alternate with her when he leaves here. The girl approached her sister and took a closer look at her. There are nurses in the hospital, but they are ordinary people, and if there is a second incident like the one before, even 10 nurses will not be enough to kill the temporary zombie. The girl puts her hand on her belt and tells the main character that she will take care of her. The main character says goodbye to her and says that he left on business and will come back when he's finished. Entrance to the outer area. Near the skyscrapers there is a full road, in some places covered with sand. There is no branch camp in the outer region, so Lin Ki needs to get into the outer region first if he wants to qualify. The main character shows his hand, which has 1209 days. One of the guards tells the other that the main character has more than 300 days. Access to the outer zone is only open to people who have at least 300 days on their account, and this is to prevent desperate people whose time is about to be reset from entering, thereby effectively reducing the crime rate in the outer area. The main character walks through the streets of the city among many people. He stops near the Doomsday Camp. He looks at the building and thought that this time he will definitely succeed. There were several lines of people wanting to get into the camp. Lin Ki shows his ID to the camp worker. A black car nearly hits a man and its driver yells to get out of the way. A man with gray hair tied in a ponytail asks the man if he is blind and if he really can't see that he is driving. A man with a mustache takes away a guy who was almost run over and tells him that it's better not to argue with him. Cars in this city are considered a symbol of the time when Kwangju strenuously resisted the time zombies, and if a person can afford a car, he is definitely unusual. A guy with gray hair parks his car incorrectly, placing it horizontally on vertical stripes. He opens the car door. He slammed the car door, and a girl with blue hair came out from the other side. The guy asks the girl to touch her, and she asks her to wait because there are people watching. The guy smiles and tells her that with him she cannot be afraid of other people's views. Among the crowd of people, a guy with glasses asks who he is and whether he is too arrogant. The guy in the orange vest puts his finger to his mouth and asks if he doesn't know him, and then says that this is Zhao Chenggen, who served as a captain in the Wandering Squad when he turned 18 years old. The main character asks if he really became the captain of the Night Wanderers at such a young age and was already at rank C. The guy in the orange vest says that he heard that he is at level D8. The main character asks how he became a captain then, and is there really no requirement that one must have C-level strength to be a captain in any of the 4 night divisions. The guy in the vest replies that the law is not written to him and asks what is the captain's position when you are the second son of the Zhao family from the inner region. The main character with a menacing look thought that Zhu Wei told him yesterday that someone with a similar name promised to transfer her to the city, but deceived her, and then wonders if it was him. He takes out his phone and thought that he needed to make sure of this. The main character takes a photo of Zhao Chenggen and his girlfriend with his phone camera. He types a message in the chat. He asks Zhu Wei if he deceived her, to which she replies that it was him. 10 minutes pass.
A man with an eye patch stands accompanied by 2 bodyguards and says that he is Zhao Jin, the camp entrance exam examiner.
He adds that there are 3 tests, and the first one is a comprehensive physical fitness test, and then asks candidates to follow it. Zhao Jin, Deputy Commander of the Knights. Members of the Order are divided into 4 classes in order of increasing rank: Knight, Captain, Commander and Master. A man with blonde hair tells everyone to line up to enter and asks them not to crowd. A long line stretches from the entrance to the building. 2nd floor. Many people gathered near the stage. The examiner on stage says that the first physical test is a comprehensive test of speed, strength and reflexes. He adds that the use of enhanced weapons or other methods is prohibited. An examiner with blonde hair stands next to the treadmill and says that the speed test is a 100-meter run. You need to run in 5.5 seconds. He asks to come up when he calls the name. Lin Qi asks Zhao Chenggen if he cheated someone for 200 days yesterday. The guy with gray hair turns around and asks the main character if it was his friend and adds that he has never seen such naive people, and even if he had not deceived her, someone else would have deceived her, and therefore asks to be grateful to him. The main character, with an angry expression on his face, asks if he really thinks that she deserved to be deceived. Zhao Chenggen raises his hand and says that the cost of escorting people to Manhwa is not cheap now, not to mention that 200 days is not enough, and then asks if she really wanted to ride his car for that amount. The main character asks if he knows that after he deceived her, the girl has only 10 days of life left, after which she will die.
The guy with blue hair asks why he cares and adds that many people died in this last world and she is no exception.
Lin Qi tells the guy that he doesn't deserve to be a wanderer. Zhao Chenggen asks if he is still fighting and adds that he better mind his own business. He points his finger at the main character and with a smile on his face says that he knows him and his sister, who is in serious condition, and adds that he needs to shut up if he doesn't want anything to happen to her. The main character with an angry expression on his face tells the guy that he will pay for his words. The bully points his finger at the main character and asks if he understands what situation he is in. The examiner calls the name of the main character so that he passes the test. The main character stretches his hand and says that he is ready. The examiner with an electronic device in his hand announces the start. The main character runs on a treadmill. They stop him and call the result 4.35 seconds. The man in the crowd says he is at least level D8. Another guy says that this year the guys are strong again. Another person says the best time was 4.56 seconds, and he cut it by 0.21 seconds, which is terrifying. Zhao Chenggen watches what is happening with a surprised look. He thought that if the main character dared to fight him, he would make him die in shame. Strength test. The main character hits the simulator and the force of Lin Qi's blow is 856 kilograms. The examiner asks the next one to pass.
The main character clenched his fist smugly, and people from the crowd say that he is so strong that an ordinary D8 level fighter punches about 800 kilograms.
Reaction test. 10 machines randomly fire 100 high-speed bouncing balls over 10 seconds, and you have to dodge 60 or more balls. Lin Qi stands in the middle of the testing area. Several balls are thrown at him. He deftly dodges several of them at once. People in the crowd are surprised that he scored 60 so quickly. The scoreboard displays 80, and people in the crowd watch in awe. The scoreboard shows 100 goals and people open their mouths wide in surprise. Zhao Chenggen gritted his teeth and doesn't understand how this can happen. A man from the crowd asks if not a single ball hit him. Another observer asks if he is really a human and adds that the best result just now was only 81. Another observer asks if the machine is broken. Zhao Chenggen stands in the middle of the crowd and is silent. Many people are standing near the testing area. The main character smiles and thought that in fact, in addition to the fact that he is a person with enhanced physical capabilities, he is also a psychic, and with the help of mental power he can perceive subtle movements and react in advance. Lin Qi asks the examiner Zhao Jin if he passed the test, to which he is answered positively. The examiner says that Lin Qi, who has passed the comprehensive physical fitness test, gets access to the next stage. He looks at the tablet with the names Zhao Chenggen and Lin Qi with a smile on his face. Many people are leaving the premises. The examiner announces to the people standing in front of him that the first test is completed. Zhao Jin says that they are moving on to the second test, a battle in which they will be able to use their techniques and improvements. He adds that the person whose name he named disarms and adds that the two enter the ring to compete. The winner advances to the next round, and the loser is eliminated. The examiner shouts and announces that the first fight will be between Song Jiahao and Liu Mianyuan. Two participants fight in the middle of the ring. Zhao Chenggen leans on the shoulder of the main character and tells him that he was so impudent recently. But a little more and he will understand his place. The main character asks him if he is sure that they will fight each other. A guy with gray hair with an angry expression on his face replies that of course. Zhao Jin looks at the tablet and announces that Zhao Chenggen and Lin Qi will fight in the next battle. The main character is surprised while the bully smiles. The main character, with a serious expression on his face, thought that 40 people were supposed to fight and wonders how he realized that they would be paired up. He adds that he has the same last name as the examiner, and that's why he's afraid, that there is a very unusual relationship between them. He smiles and thought that in any case, in the face of ordinary strength, all tricks lose their power. He takes off all his gear and leaves his backpack behind. The guy with gray hair spreads his arms to the sides and tells the main character that now he will show him what happens when you stick your nose into someone else's business. The main character tells him that such a scoundrel, who only disgraces the reputation of the knights, does not have a chance. Zhao Chenggen gritted his teeth in anger. He jumps on the main character and tells him to die. Their fists clashed as they fought. The bully thought about how his blow could be stronger than his. The main character with a smile on his face tells him not to complain, because the show is still ahead. He swings his fist and uses mountain smashing punch. Zhao Chenggen uses tiger kick and an illusory image of a tiger appears above him. Their fists met again in the heat of battle. The bully pushes away after landing a hit. He asks how this is possible with concern on his face. Lin Qi runs towards his enemy. He raises his fist, and the bully tries to step back. The main character makes a blow, after which the enemy is pushed back again. Zhao Chenggen falls to the ground after being hit by the main character. He gets to his feet and thought that test did not show his strength. The main character clenches his hand into a fist and tells him that with his strength, he probably won't be able to kill even a D7 level zombie, and adds that in fact, the fact that he became the captain of the knights is simply a humiliation of the honor of the knights. The bully throws a punch and screams for the protagonist to shut up. Lin Qi dodges and thought that his enemy's movements had slowed down. Physical strength can strengthen the body, and mental strength can give a fighter reading movements that are not noticeable to ordinary people. The main character looks at his opponent with a menacing expression on his face. To Lin Qi, his opponent's movements look like they are being shown in slow motion. The main character thought that everyone has their own shortcomings and kicks his enemy, who is pushed back. He asks the enemy if he can still get up. A drop of sweat runs down Zhao Chenggen's face, and he thought about why the main character is so strong when his rank is D8. He removes the cap from the ring on his hand. Under the cap was a green needle. The bully shouts to the main character that he will die for all this and raises his fist. Lin Qi asks his opponent if he is giving up. He is surprised when he notices the ring. He wondered if it was a poison needle in his ring. The main character grabs his enemy's forearm. He threw the bully over himself and slammed his body onto the ground. Lin Qi turns to the examiner and says that he cheated. Zhao Jin pushes the main character away with his hand. With an angry expression on his face, he shouts that the deceiver is the main character. Lin Qi is shocked and asks what he is talking about. The examiner tells the main character that it was he who used the poison needle to win, and adds that he will disqualify the main character from this stage. The bully says that this needle is right next to him. The main character looks down and wonders where the ring with the needle came from next to him. Zhao Jin shouts to the main character that he is a deceiver and is dismissed. Lin Qi, with a serious expression on his face, notes that they are in cahoots. A person from the crowd asks how shameful it is for Lin Qi to use a poison needle, and does he really think the examiner is a fool? Another observer says that however, this Zhao Chenggen, the captain of the Wandering Knights, is too weak, although he should have a C-rank strength. Another observer says that both are good. The main character goes to his things and says that since they are sure that the ring is a poison needle, everything has become even simpler. He takes his smartphone out of his backpack. He shows a photo from a smartphone where Zhao Chenggen is wearing the same ring. People look closely at the photo and notice that he is indeed wearing a ring. Observers assume that the main character was framed. Bully asks how this could happen, and his father is shocked by what is happening. Zhao Jin approaches the main character and tells him that this is not his ring and he was wrong, and then adds that he takes back his words and tells him that he is waiting here at 2 o'clock in the afternoon for the third test, since he passed. The examiner walks away from the protagonist, leaving the protagonist behind. Lin Qi thought that this guy was strong, and his level was at least C4. The bully approaches the main character, and with an angry expression on his face tells him that this is not the end. He spits on the floor while the main character looks at him with a serious expression on his face. The main character looks at the bully and his relative and thought that as a precaution, let everything remain like this, and then he will settle the score after he passes the third test. The main character leaves the test site. Zhao Chenggen, with an evil expression on his face, looks after the main character and says that he must take revenge. His brother replies that he has an idea and asks him to rely on him. The main character looks at his smartphone to check the time. The clock shows 10 hours and 10 minutes. The main character leaves the Doomsday Camp and says that he needs to find some cafe to pass the time here. He walks into a cafe and asks for coffee. The clock hand in the establishment is shaped like a bird on a branch. The main character ate and drank his drink. The employee of the establishment tells the departing protagonist that they are waiting for him again. The main character turns around and thought it was strange. He says that it's been almost 2 hours and there is not a single contender. The main character greets the guard at the checkpoint and says that he is here to go through the third stage of recruiting, and then asks why no one is here. The guard asks if the main character doesn't know that the venue has been changed and the new location is located near the southwestern wall. The main character is surprised by what he heard. He asks why no one told him. The guard puts his finger in his ear and says that everyone should have received a text message and suggests looking at their phone. The main character checks his phone and realizes that there is no message there and adds that it is probably the examiner's fault and he will pay for it. The main character runs to the new venue and thought that there were only 16 minutes left. Southwestern Wall. The examiner says that 10 people are participating in the third test, 2 of whom did not show up. Zhao Jin stands next to his smiling brother and shouts that there are only 2 minutes left and everyone who comes later will be disqualified. A guy with short blonde hair asks why Zhao Chenggen is next to the examiner. The guy in the orange shirt replies that if he doesn't want problems, it's better not to whisper about them. The bully calls his brother amazing because the protagonist is late. The examiner tells his brother that he will take the place of the main character and asks him to stay in the shadows for now. Zhao Chenggen, with a malicious smile, says that this kid will get it after the exam. The main character runs to the venue and with a smile on his face says that he was not late after all, and the examiner's brother widened his eyes looking at him. The main character thought that he still had his boots obtained by the system and he was much faster in them. He wears silent boots that can increase the wearer's speed by 50%. Zhao Jin asks with a dissatisfied face if he really came. Zhao Chenggen says that now he will definitely take revenge. The examiner makes notes in a notebook and says that after the time has expired, latecomers will be disqualified. He says that Zhao Chenggen will take the place of the latecomer. The main character watches what is happening with a serious expression on his face. He does not respond to the examiner's words. Zhao Jin says that the third test involves them going out of town and killing temporary zombies without using improved equipment and making do with only what the exam offers. He adds that all the weapons will be stored here and if they are spotted with weapons during the test, then they will be in trouble. On the shelves of the closet there are many bags, backpacks, and sheaths with knives. Lin Qi says this is standard equipment. He, along with the others, puts on a uniform and holds a sheath with a knife in his hand. The contenders go beyond the city limits. Jinhui area. Examiners and candidates approach the gate. Zhao Jin says that there are a lot of time zombies in the area, and each of them has their own number. He commands that after they finish off one of them, they must use their scanners to store information about it. and each scanner gives an additional point, and the higher the score, the greater the chances of passing the exam. The scanner glows in the protagonist's hand. The examiner announces to the applicants that the exam time is 1 hour, and the 10 best will pass the exam. He adds that he gives them 10 minutes to prepare. The gate to the area opens and the applicants go inside. The main character thought that he had spent too much energy and needed to recover. He sits in a meditation stance. Mental strength is restored by thinking, and physical strength by breathing. Two twins look at the meditating protagonist. One of them says not to worry and they will take care of him. The second one says that the main character is an ordinary D8 and asks what problems there might be with him. Zhao Chenggen with a smile on his face tells them that in room 205 on the second floor of Block 1, there is an enhanced weapon as payment for them. The brother with lighter hair thanks the bully. The three villains smile evilly, and their boss says that the main character is finding himself in big trouble for going against him. Zhao Jin shows the timer and says that the preparation time has expired and the exam is starting. The applicants run deep into the area. The contenders are scattering in different directions. They were distributed over a large area among the skyscrapers. Lin Qi walks inside Building 9. A time zombie appears in front of him and growls at him. The main character prepared a knife and thought that this zombie was just D3. The zombie turns around, gritting his teeth. The main character attacks him from the back with a stabbing blow. Even though they are currently in the exam, time crystals are still very valuable. The number on the main character's watch is 1338. He received 3 points and turns on the scanner, which shows the leaderboard, where Janyong is in first place, and the main character is in third. Lin Qi clenches his fist and says that with his strength, he will easily enter the top 10 and pass this test. After each selection, only 10 recruits are recruited. He made a serious expression on his face and thought that now he does not have enhanced weapons, and these Zhao want to annoy him and therefore he needs to be on his guard. He asks the system to open the store, after which the interface appears. A notification appears with information about the D-Class Swift Charge, which allows you to take off at great speed in an instant, and its cost is 500 days. He buys a rapid move, after which the value of the days on the clock at 1338 drops to 838. The main character closed his eyes and was enveloped in golden energy. He suddenly opens his eyes to use the skill. He makes a quick dash and quickly moves forward. He runs around the corner at lightning speed. Lin Qi stops near the stairs. He smiles and says that it is very fast and it is at least twice as fast as his usual speed. He looks at the building and says that it's a pity that this acceleration lasts only a second and can only be used at intervals of a minute. He adds that he needs to go upstairs and see the situation. The main character attacks the zombie and breaks through its torso, and a time crystal falls out of the hole. He defeats another zombie and now has 1088 days on the clock. He looks at the area from above and says that on the way here he killed 2 more and received 5 more points for them. But he is still in third place and assumes that everyone here is capable. The main character looks at Zhao Chenggen, who is in 11th place and has 1 point, and then adds that such a dubious guy will never play honestly. Behind the main character, the villain swings his sword. He throws a punch, but Lin Qi dodges it. The main character grabs his sheathed knife. The ill-wisher jumped back, performing a somersault. The main character asks the enemy who he is and why he attacked. A twin with blonde hair rises to the roof and asks his brother why he didn't use the boost on the first attack. The brother with dark hair asks his twin to shut up and adds that the main character is just fast. The main character screams and asks them why they attacked him. The twin with dark hair smiles and tells the main character that he has crossed someone's path. Lin Qi thought of Zhao Chenggen and imagined his image. The main character stands in a fighting stance and thought that among the 20 participants, twin brothers could only have the same last name. He says that if he is right, then they are Liu Wen and Liu Wu, and the person who sent them is Zhao Chenggen. Both brothers smile, and Liu Wen asks what if the main character guessed and adds that they are outside the city and are not subject to existing laws. He points his sword at the main character and says that Zhao Chenggen only wants his leg. But they received such a large amount that 1 leg is not enough, so they will take a life. The main character smiles and says that they are right, because if he kills them, then nothing will happen to him. Liu Wen tells the main character that he apparently doesn't understand the situation at all. The main character grins and tells them that they don't understand. Liu Wu draws blades from his hands and tells his brother to stop talking and start fighting. Liu Wen agrees with his brother and says that it's time to teach the main character a lesson. Lin Qi makes a surprised expression. The main character points his finger towards the passage and shouts that he needs to be careful, because Zhao Chenggen is there. Liu Wu turns back. Liu Wen shouts to his brother to be careful. The main character uses swift dash and jumps on Liu Wu. Lin Qi strikes the twin in the chest with lightning speed. The twin spits out blood and thought that the main character was very fast. Liu Wen jumps on the main character and swings his sword at him. He strikes with his sword and a huge crack remains on the ground, but the main character dodges. Liu Wen puts his hand on his brother's shoulder and asks him if he is okay. The other twin replies that everything is fine and asks him to kill the main character. Liu Wen with an angry expression screams at the main character to die. Lin Qi gritted his teeth and thought that this sword was very strong. The main character made a serious expression on his face and thought that as long as it doesn't hurt someone, it doesn't matter how strong the weapon is, it's just a trinket. Liu Wen makes a sweeping blow with his sword, and the main character jumps, dodging the attack. The enemy makes another slashing attack, which the protagonist dodges. He raises his fist and thought that they never left the city, never fought with temporary zombies, and their attacks have many gaps. He hits the twin's wrist with mountain-shattering punch and he loses his weapon. The main character makes an attack with a knife. He cuts his enemy's throat and stands behind him. Liu Wu looks at his brother with a worried expression. The main character with a knife in his hand heads towards the enemy. He cuts the second brother's throat with a slash. He stands among the defeated enemies and says that he did not expect such strength from them. At this time, Lin Qi was in a very calm state, and during the period of the beginning of the end, when everyone was fighting for their lives, these were not the first villains that Lin Qi killed. The main character picks up the sword and says that it is very good and most likely expensive, but if they see him, they will consider him a fraudster. He thought that the Zhao were in cahoots and were uniting others around themselves, and he could not obey them. He hides the sword wrapped in cloth and thought that he would just wait until the end of the test and take it away. Half an hour later, many skyscrapers are enveloped in evening light. The main character sits on the couch and looks through the ranking list, where Lin Qi has 28 points and is in 4th place, and Zhao Chenggen is in 5th place with 16 points. He says that he deliberately did not scan all the codes now, and if you count, then his points should exceed the current 1st place of 36 points. With a serious expression on his face, he says that it is better to keep it to himself and not stand out too much, because who knows, what if Zhao Chenggen does something different? He thought that these 28 points were enough to take a place in the top 10, because there were only 10 minutes left until the end of the test, and those lagging behind would not be able to catch up with this result. He looks at his watch with 4866 days and says that he had about 1,000 days before the exam. Lin Qi smiles and says that he collected a lot of time crystals in this exam, and even if he fails it, this is already a good result. They are located outside the city, and after each hunt the patrollers must take almost all the time they got, so he deliberately kept some of the crystals intact. The main character looks through the system interface and says that this time will be enough to switch to D9, and then asks the system to open a store to buy genetic potions. The system congratulates the main character on reaching the D8 rank and informs him about receiving the lottery. The main character with a dissatisfied expression on his face holds a bottle in his hand and says that from D7 to D8 only 4 bottles of genetic potions were drunk, and as a result he drank 12 bottles in 2466 days, and adds that he knows how to spend money. The main character plays a lottery in the system. A notification appears about obtaining the D-level ability, Thunder Serpent. An information window appears, where it is written that with the help of this ability you can transmit the element of thunder in the air, and form a snake from lightning of enormous power. Lin Qi thought that this ability uses the element of lightning. He smiles and decides to see how much it costs in the store. It costs 15,000 days. The main character looks at his hands and says that he will try it on the roof. He comes to the roof and puts his hands forward, after which they are enveloped in blue energy. He uses the Thunder Serpent ability, after which an electric serpent appears from his hands. A powerful electrical explosion occurs in front of the main character. A huge hole appears in a concrete wall after an explosion. The main character looks at his hand and says that with this trick he has become an order of magnitude stronger. With a serious expression on his face, he says that it is better not to show it to anyone and can be used as a secret weapon. He goes down the stairs. He looks at Zhao Chenggen and says that the world is really small. The bully holds a red katana in his hand, shrouded in black and blue energy, and thought that those two did not take him and his rating was only growing all this time. He says that he is upset by the too lively appearance of the main character. Lin Qi stands opposite the enemy and tells him that even in such a test he wants to cheat and calls him a scoundrel. Zhao Chenggen says that maybe he won't leave this test today. The main character smiles and says that these are the words of a pitiful and defeated person. The bully moves his sword to the side and says that he only wanted to deprive Lin Qi of his leg, but he himself is asking for death. The main character clenches his hand into a fist and says that since no one is around, they will solve all this quickly. Zhao Chengen wishes the main character to die and swings his sword at him. He uses the whip execution ability, after which the sword turns into a whip. The main character dodges and calls the enemy's attack slowly with a smile on his face. He punches the bully in the stomach and lifts him into the air. Zhao Chengen pushes away and coughs. The main character smiles and tells the bully that for people like him, even ordinary fists are enough. The bully jumps on the main character and tells him to shut up. Lin Qi dodges and thought that with his D9 level and D8 mental attack power, the enemy's attacks look like they are in slow motion. He sees a sword blade near his face. He easily follows the blade while striking the enemy. The main character punches the bully in the face. Zhao Chengen's face is deformed by the crushing blow. The bully is pushed back, and the main character tells him that he is just a mama's boy, living on his parents' money, who deceives defenseless people. He adds that if he pays everything with interest, he will think about saving his life. The bully gets angry and shouts to the main character that he will kill him. He makes a cross attack with his sword and uses the swift radiant slash ability. The main character calls his enemy persistent. Lin Qi uses the soul destruction ability. Zhao Chengen pushes back after being hit by the main character. With a dissatisfied expression on his face, he asks how the main character was able to stop the attack of the improved weapon. He asks Lin Qi at level D9 if he is. The main character asks if this surprised him so much. Zhao Chengen with a menacing expression on his face says that this is impossible, because according to his data, the main character cannot be on D9. The main character smiles and tells the bully that there are many things that he does not know about, and then says that he gives 5 seconds and if he does not make the right decision, he will go on a long journey. The main character takes his knife out of its sheath. The bully looks scared. Zhao Chengen spread his arms to the sides and says that the main character cannot kill him, because he is the son of influential and rich people, and his brother is an examiner. The main character, with a menacing expression on his face, asks what's wrong with that. A drop of sweat runs down the bully's cheek. Zhao Chengen gritted his teeth and thought that they really wanted to kill him. He looks behind him and sees 2 other contenders. He screams and asks them for help and says that the main character wants to kill him. Lin Qi looks at them and thought that extra eyes only complicate everything. He thought with an angry expression that he wanted to solve everything with Zhao Chengen simply with the help of time crystals. But with the audience, this plan can be cancelled. The bully laughs maliciously and asks the protagonist to kill him if he has the courage. The main character runs towards his enemy. Zhao Chengen attacks with his katana and says that he should just try to hurt him. With a smile on his face, he thought that this guy was not so stupid and would not kill him. The bully throws a lot of punches and asks Lin Qi where his character is now and whether he got scared and backed down. The main character dodges the attacks and says that this time he was lucky, but he will not go unpunished. He grabs the enemy's wrist. He pulls his arm, causing Zhao Chengen to drop his katana. The main character damages the bully's bracelet. He rips the scanner bracelet completely off the guy's hand. The bully asks what happened with a desperate look on his face. Lin Qi turns his back to the sitting enemy and folds his knife, and then says that this way he will not be able to earn points when he kills someone. With a smile on his face, he shows Zhao Chengen's position in the ranking list, and tells him that now he is in 10th place, and then he will be in 11th and he will only have to wait for relegation. The bully's place is now 11 and the main character says that he has no hope. Zhao Chengen gets to his feet, and the main character looks in his direction. He turns around and, gritting his teeth, thought that this man would definitely regret it. The main character made a stern expression on his face and thought that he would definitely be watching him in the near future, and therefore would take the weapon only after a while. Many applicants gather at the gate, and the examiner announces that at the end of the test, the top 10 in points will pass the 3rd stage and orders them to return to the gathering place. Zhao Jin tells his brother that he couldn't even beat those losers who were appointed specifically for him to pass. Zhao Chengen asks what he should do. The examiner tells his brother that he cannot cheat the rating and can only wait for the next time. The guy with gray hair clenched his teeth and said that he would destroy the main character. Zhao Jin smiles and tells his brother that maybe he won't have to get his hands dirty with blood. Half an hour passes. Doomsday Camp. There is a document on the table that is an agreement to enter the Doomsday military camp. The applicants and the examiner gathered around a long table. Zhao Jin asks everyone to read the points in this document and adds that it is their right to sign it or not. The applicant with brown hair reads the document and says that after signing the agreement, you will immediately receive a bonus for 500 days, as well as the right to permanent residence in the outer zone. And the monthly guaranteed salary also reaches 150 days, and this salary is only for the internship period. And then there will be double salary. The main character reads the document and thought that conditions now are much better than then. And this is only the first batch of recruits. The examiner stands behind the main character and shouts that if someone refuses to sign, then they can leave. Lin Ki looks at him and thought that he doesn't know what this guy is up to, but he needs to beware. He looks at the document again and thought that this camp was created by the owner of the city himself, and he would need to undergo special training in which he would have to try. He squeezed the document and thought that the most important thing was that his sister could receive good treatment, and therefore he simply could not help but sign. He adds that no matter what, soldiers will come and go. The examiner looks at the main character and thought that he was dead. Doomsday Training Camp, 601 dorms. The examiner leads the recruits down the corridor and says that each of them can get a room here from 601 to 610, and they must decide for themselves. He stands next to the open door and shouts commands that they need to gather in the training camp on the top floor at 8 o'clock without enhanced weapons. The main character looks menacingly at the examiner and thought that he was afraid that everything was not so simple. Dorm room number 606. The main character goes inside the room and looks around. He received a call from Zhu Wei, who with a smile on her face asked how he was doing with the exam. The main character, with the phone to his ear, replies that everything went well. There is a painting hanging on the wall with a sunny sky and sea depicted on it. There is a camera in the sun in the picture. Zhao Jin watches the main character talking to a girl. He tells someone on the phone that he needs to find someone. He says that Lin Ki has a sister who, 6 months ago, after a serious accident, lies in a coma in the 9th hospital of the extreme region. The Doomsday Camp building rises against the brown sky. The clock currently shows 19 hours and 50 minutes. The main character enters the gym. He looks around and says that everyone is here. Double wooden doors open. Zhao Jin and the chief instructor of the future training camp, Jiang Xing, with a beard and thick eyebrows, come out from there. One of the recruits exclaims that this is Jiang Xing's scar. Another recruit asks who he is and is told that he is a personal bodyguard, a C9 master, and now also the head of the Knights. A drop of sweat runs down the main character's right cheek as he thought about his rank being C9. The head of the Knights stands on stage and coughs. He congratulates everyone who joined the Doomsday Camp as participants in the Phoenix program, then introduces himself and says that he is the head instructor of the future training camp, Jiang Xing. He spreads his arms to the sides and says that the Phoenix project is now the focus of the City Lord's attention and, as the name suggests, it has started to rise from the ashes. He smiles and says that even though they signed an agreement, it does not mean that there is no way back and they can terminate the agreement and refuse any benefits at any time. He points at Zhao Jin and says that he will be in charge of their training in the future. The main character is silent, listening carefully to the speech. Jiang Xing pats Zhao Jin on the shoulder and says that 10 of them will be given to him and he wants him to promote them all to sea level within 3 months. The head of the Knights leaves through a passage with double doors. Zhao Jin tells the recruits that they don't have much time, so he will start with the case and adds that today he will teach them a D-level technique, boxing technique. The main character asks Lin Ki to get up. The main character thought that this Doomsday training camp was not a place where their family could do anything. The main character goes to him with the thought that he will see what he is up to. The main character asks him if he really wants to avenge his brother. Zhao Jin says that although his brother is useless, he is a member of his family, and therefore the main character does not need to mess with Zhao. Lin Ki asks the man what he needs. The instructor replies that it is better for the main character not to provoke him or he will learn the full power of the Zhao family. He says that the level D technique he is talking about is called Tiger Style, and then asks everyone to watch carefully. The instructor punches the main character with lightning speed. He dodges the instructor's blow. Zhao Jin is surprised that Lin Ki dodged. The instructor makes another blow, and the main character moves back and dodges. He thought that he would see how the main character would cope with this and use the D-level technique, Gust of Wind, after which his body was enveloped by streams of wind. The instructor's swing pushes the main character back. Lin Ki wondered if the instructor was using improved skills. The recruits are discussing what is happening and one of them asks if the instructor doesn't want to show the boxing style, and wonders what it has to do with strengthening the legs. Another recruit tells him to be quiet because Lin Ki has something to do with the instructor. Another recruit asks if this is the end for the main character. The fourth recruit says that you need to be careful and not provoke the instructor. Zhao Jin says that the main character has good skills. He crosses his legs behind his back and asks him to come down. The main character thought that with so many people watching him, it would not be easy for him to fight vigorously, so he should be careful. An hour passes and the recruits train on various exercise machines. The hooded rookie says that this tiger style is good and much better than the wind fist. A man with hair tied in a ponytail answers him and says that this camp has a good reputation, and they train well, at rank D for sure. The guy in the hood says that if he bought this equipment, it would cost about 500 days. The instructor stands near the recruits and shouts to them that they will meet here at 8 o'clock. Zhao Jin asks the main character to come with him, and he asks why. He shows a smartphone with a video call of a man with a knife holding Zhu Wei hostage. The main character is shocked when he sees this. A man with piercings holds an apple with a dagger stuck into it and laughs. Lin Ki gets angry and calls the instructor a scoundrel, telling him not to dare touch his sister because he will regret it. Zhao Jin walks towards the exit and tells the main character that if he doesn't want his sister to have an accident, he needs to listen to him. The main character clenched his teeth out of anger. With a menacing expression on his face, he thought that he had to save his sister. The Doomsday Camp is located in the middle of a desert area. The elevator goes down to the lower floors. The main character and the instructor are standing inside the elevator. The elevator stops at floor B5. Zhao Jin asks the main character to follow him. The main character, with concern on his face, thought that there was no network at all and if he wanted to do something with it, he could get away with it. He thought with a serious expression that he was level D9 and had awakened the lightning ability, and therefore had to protect himself. He follows the instructor down the corridor and thinks that he needs to obey him, since his sister is in his hands, and if he really has something in mind, then his strength should be enough. The main character pays attention to something away from him. He peers into the glass cells. He sees a rat and a rabbit behind the glass and asks why there are so many animals. The main character remembered that his sister loved animals very much and always wanted to raise one. But due to a temporary explosion, the ecology of the planet was disrupted and the animals almost completely died out. In the middle of a desert area lies the skull of an animal. Lin Ki thought that people couldn't afford to raise pets. In a cage, a black cat worth 100 days washes her paw. He remembers how his sister watched the cat and thought that when his sister woke up, he would definitely buy her a pet. He follows the instructor and they pass near a huge glass tank. The main character turns his head and sees water and wonders if there are still fish. He sees a huge eel and says it's true. He looks at the animal and thought that even though their city is located on the seashore, a temporary storm destroyed the aquatic inhabitants and they are now a rarity. Zhao Jin turns his head towards the main character and tells him to stop looking and speed up. The main character with an angry expression suggests that they are conducting some kind of experiment. The instructor approaches the metal door and calls the name Huan, saying that he has brought a new assistant to him. Professor Huan allows them to enter. He turns towards the entrance to the room. He is wearing a lab coat and says that this young man is very strong and he hopes that he will last longer. Zhao Jin tells the main character that he is here to help Professor Huan complete the experiment. The main character turns to the instructor and asks what kind of experiment. He puts his hand on the main character's shoulder and tells him not to worry and this is just a little experience. He adds that as long as the protagonist helps him, his grievances with the Zhao family will mean nothing. He shows the phone and says that his sister will also be fine. But if he refuses, there will be certain consequences. Huan tells the main character that he needs to check his condition and asks him to lie down on the couch. Lin Ki approaches the couch and is silent for a short time. The instructor with a smile on his face says that he gives 3 seconds. The main character has a worried look on his face. He made a serious expression on his face and thought that fortunately his mental strength was sufficiently pumped up and if he was tied up, then at a critical moment he would be able to free himself. The main character was tied to a couch. Huan, with a malicious expression on his face, tells the main character not to worry, because these chains are made of the skin of an iron rhinoceros and even a C-rank fighter is not able to destroy them. Lin Ki gritted his teeth and thought of the iron rhinoceros. After the temporary explosion, not only people changed, animals on land and in water began to mutate, and now everyone has different characteristics. A dragon flies in the sky, and a monster with tentacles swims in the water. The werewolf stands on all fours against the backdrop of the red moon. No matter what exactly has changed, they have become more like monsters and the iron rhinoceros is one of them. A monster with tentacles from the water sinks the ship. Hyun removes the curtain and tells the main character to meet his former assistant. Behind the curtain lies a lifeless man, whose body parts are sewn together. The main character looks scared. He shouts to the instructor why such things are happening here, because this is the Doomsday Camp. Zhao Jin, with a smile on his face, tells him that this is his family's laboratory, and whoever enters the elevator doors will never enter back again. Lin Qi thought that these Zhao were just scoundrels. Zhao Cheng'an comes into the room and with a smile on his face tells the main character that he went against him and it ended badly. The main character asks them what they are going to do. The bully looks the main character in the face and says that he will die right away. He takes the stun gun and says that first they will check how the human body conducts electricity. A drop of sweat runs down the main character's cheek and he thinks that he has awakened the ability to lightning, and doesn't know if he is afraid of electricity in this case. He adds that either way, he needs to pretend to be in pain in order to cooperate with them. Hyun asks what force he should use, and the bully with a crazy expression on his face replies that it's the maximum and points the stun gun at the main character. Lin Qi screams in pain as he is electrocuted. Zhao Cheng'an asks with concern on his face if this guy is made of rubber since he didn't die from being electrocuted with thousands of volts. The main character lies on the couch and is silent. Zhao Jin rests his chin and says that this guy is really amazing, because even if he was a sea-level fighter, he wouldn't last even 5 minutes. The bully smiles and says that it's good because they'll play with him longer and adds that it would be boring if he died quickly. Zhao Cheng'an turns to the professor and tells him that he can do whatever he wants and they will bother him later. Hyun tells them not to worry with a smile on his face because he will take care of him. He made a crazy expression on his face and said that the main character has a phenomenal resistance to electricity, and he will conduct the most dangerous experiments. There are many bottles of substances placed on the shelves. The professor fills the syringe with a green substance. The main character with soot on his face asks the professor what he is going to do. Hyun notices that the main character woke up and says that he thought that the main character would faint all day. He shows the main character a syringe and says that he can't wait any longer and adds that this is an incredible drug and if it is introduced into the body, the consequences will be unpredictable. The main character unhooked one of the bracelets from the chain. Hyun lowers his mask and says that this is a potion of thunder and lightning. Lin Qi asks the professor again with a surprised expression on his face. He thought that if he awakened the power of lightning, then he had nothing to fear and perhaps it would even help him. The professor injects the contents of the syringe into the main character. He raises the syringe above himself and shouts that if the experiment is successful, she will become famous and save the world. The main character closed his eyes and thought that it hurt a little and he felt the power rushing towards his mind. But his body did not seem to reject it. Crackling streams of blue energy diverge in different directions. Lin Qi feels like he is in the middle of space and thought that his mental strength was improving. The main character with a stern expression thought that this strange potion improves his mental strength, and also improves his lightning control skills. He closes his eyes and thought that those who have special abilities actually control them with the help of their minds, and a capable person changes the air around him with the help of his mind, transforming it into an element. He adds that he used his mind to contact the element of thunder, which reduced the damage to his body. He is drawn to the concentrated blue energy and thought that the stronger the power of the mind, the stronger the lightning. The main character thought that this potion of thunder and lightning was much better than all the usual medicines of the mind, and if someone could hold out, he would awaken unprecedented strength within himself. The main character's clock shows 88 days. The number of days on the clock drops to 87. The main character, with a stern expression on his face, thought that although he used the power of his mind to reduce the damage, he shocked him for 15 minutes, and this is hard to bear just like that. Hyun asks the main character how he is. He asks the main character if he feels changes. Lin Qi thought that although Professor Hyun was talented, he had teamed up with the Zhao family to kidnap people and experiment on them. Lin Qi closes his eyes and says that nothing has changed. The professor says that this is understandable, because he gave him a concentration of 20%. The main character thought that a concentration of 20% gave him an increase in mental strength only slightly more than a regular mind potion. The days on the clock decreased to 81, then to 73, and then to 69. Hyun draws the blue liquid into a syringe and says that the concentration of 20% only took 20 days, and it seems that his body is resistant to the thunder potion. The main character thought that a concentration of 20% increased the power of the mind to D3, and adds that this is a very powerful potion. The professor lowers his mask and with a smile on his face says that he will look at the effect of a concentration of 40%. He injects the substance into the protagonist's hand. 3 drops of sweat flow down Lin Ke's cheek and he thought that it hurt and much more painful than it was. The value on the protagonist's watch dropped to 29 days. Hyun makes notes on paper and says that this time there are only 38 days. The professor looks at the corpse behind him and thought that there were only 6 test subjects and several died already at stage 4, and he lived to stage 5. Hyun shows the main character the recordings and tells him that he is an excellent assistant. He looks at data from experimental subjects testing different doses of the substance. The main character took a closer look and thought that this meant that the 6th test subject was on C1 and did not pass stage 5. He saw a suspicious entry where the effectiveness of the substance was not tested and suggests that this was an unnatural death. Hyun with a smile on his face says that he will try 60% and injects the substance. The main character, with concern on his face, says that he does not have enough time and will die with this dose. He thought that initially he had a lot of time, but recently he used it all up. The professor smiles and tells the main character not to worry, because he is rich enough to prevent the main character from dying. The main character is surprised because of something. Hyun grabs the protagonist's wrist. Hyun watch has 38 days. The day's value on the professor's hand is now 8341, while the main character's is 529. Lin Ke gritted his teeth and thought about the fact that the professor only gave him 500 days. The main character gritted his teeth and received a system notification congratulating him on increasing his mind power to D4 and 1 new lottery. Hyun injected a syringe with a substance into the main character and says that this time it took only 43 days. Lin Ke's clock now has 486 days. Hyun throws another syringe onto the metal tray and says that he will try the 4th and 5th stage potions again. The protagonist grits his teeth in pain and receives level up notifications and raises his mind power rank to D5. The professor watches the lying protagonist. Hyun tells the main character that he has survived the 5th stage and asks if there are any changes. Lin Ke replies that nothing has changed. The professor, with concern on his face, shouts that this is impossible and asks how it could not give even a small effect. The main character looks at the professor and thought that thanks to him, his mind power increased from D2 to D5. Hyun tells the main character that he needs to increase his concentration. The professor leaves the room to get a new batch and asks the main character to wait. Hyun slams the door behind him. The main character breaks the chain of another bracelet. He holds his wrist and wonders how angry the Jang family would be if they found out that he got such a significant improvement from their experiment. Lin Ke gets up from the couch and thought that when the time comes, he needs to take evidence of their crimes with him. He looks around and thinks that self-improvement is too slow and he needs to rely on potions, and then think about how to save his sister. He adds that the 5th stage potion already has a concentration of 100% and wonders if Hwan has a more powerful potion. The main character closes his eye due to pain. He begins to feel dizzy and covers his face with his hand, and then he thinks that it must be due to a sharp jump in his mind power, and he needs to meditate to improve his condition. The main character closes his eyes. He lies on the professor's couch in silence. Second day, many people stand near the Doomsday Camp. Hyun opens the door to the office. He approaches the main character with a suitcase in his hand. With a smile on his face, he opens a suitcase with green bottles and says that he used all the precious ingredients in the entire laboratory, so this time everything will work out. The main character thought that this would definitely be enough until D6. The time on the clock is currently 493 days. The value decreases to 492 days and then to 475 days to live. Hyun looks at the protagonist's hand with 439 days to live and says that 10 bottles of potions did not give any effect, and each bottle takes less and less time. He wonders why the last bottle took only 3 days. The main character asks Hyun if he doesn't have 3 bottles left. The professor looks towards the suitcase. He takes out another bottle and says that they will try twice the concentration. Drops of sweat flow down Lin Ke's face and he thought that doubling his concentration was already dangerous. The main character gritted his teeth and thought that, fortunately, this was within the limits of his tolerance. According to the notification, the mind power has been upgraded to D7 and another lottery has been obtained. The professor holds a syringe in his hand and says that it is incredible that he survived even after double concentration, and then asks what kind of monster he is. The main character, with a painful expression on his face, reminds the professor that there are still 2 bottles left. Hyun turns towards the suitcase. He looks at the bottles and says that one bottle contains 3 times more concentration. Then he looked at a particularly green law and said that it had 5 times the concentration. Lin Ki, lying on the couch, shouted to Professor Huan that he needed a 3rd bottle. Huan has already taken out a test tube. He said that he liked the zeal of the main character. The professor began to move the syringe with the dose closer to Lin Ki's hand. Lin Ki looked tense, but he knew that based on the past effect, this dose should not be fatal to him. The main character assumed that when he finished absorbing such a large injection, he would absorb the very last one. The syringe with the drug entered the guy's skin. His scream was so loud that it could be heard even in the corridor. A system window appeared. Congratulations, mind power increased to D8, 1 lottery received. Lin Ki frowned and gritted his teeth. Although this is not maximum power, it was very painful for him. His attentiveness increases. For the sake of this he was ready to endure. Lying on the couch, he looked at Professor Huan's back. The main character's body was very painful, but his mind was clear. He turned his gaze to the corner of the room. There was a tiny ant crawling on the wall. With Lin Ki's attentiveness, he can see even such small details. A nervous Professor Huan approached the protagonist and asked if the single dose had produced results. Lin Ki closed his eyes and replied that he did not feel any changes. Huan took the next tube in his hands and said that then they would begin the injection with a 5-fold dose. He added that this was the peak of his capabilities, and if the injection did not work, he would have to stop this experiment. Lin Ki looked at the test tube with the greenish liquid. He understood that this bottle contained 5 times the concentration of the potion, which should be enough to raise his mind power to level D9. The main character frowned, realizing that as soon as he was injected, he would break these chains and kill everyone. Suddenly the door to the room opened. Zhao Chenggen entered the room and was greeted by Huan. Zhao Chenggen smiled sarcastically and asked what the professor was doing. Huan approached the chained Lin Ki and said that he had given him all the injections he had and was now going to give him a 5-fold dose. Zhao Chenggen asked if he had died. The guy walked up to the main character and said that he is really resilient and he would like to shock him several times before going to bed, so if he sees Lin Ki in pain, his day will be better. The main character looked at him gloomily and called him insultingly. This made Zhao Chenggen furious and he angrily asked what Lin Ki said. He walked away from the main character and frowned, asking if his life was dear to him. The guy approached Professor Huan and ordered Lin Ki to be given an injection, to which he agreed. Huan inserted a syringe into the protagonist's hand. He immediately screamed in pain and began to sweat, not understanding where such pain came from a 5-fold dose. The main character calmed down and frowned. He understood that he could not push away this force, otherwise he would simply die. If he doesn't take advantage of this chance, he may not reach the D9 level. This amused Zhao Chenggen and he laughed. He picked up a powerful shocker and ordered to amuse him in one more game. The guy said that Lin Ki's life is so hard, but he can help him with it. Professor Huan tried to stop him. Zhao Chenggen shocked Lin Ki directly in the stomach while smiling like a madman. The main character clenched his teeth and screamed. He frowned and began to sweat. Although the pain was unbearable, he could feel himself getting stronger and able to take it to the next level. A system window appeared. Congratulations, mind power increased to D9, 1 lottery received. Suddenly Lin Ki was able to break free from his shackles. He swung his fist at Zhao Chenggen and ordered him to die. The main character hit the guy right in the stomach, causing him to scream in pain. Lin Ki was serious, his face was frowning. Zhao Chenggen hit his back against the wall with a loud crash. His eyes turned white and he began coughing up blood, staining his shirt. The time available to him dropped to 0. Barefoot Lin Ki stood with his fist clenched. Huan looked at the dead Zhao Chenggen and laughed, saying that he had finally succeeded. Lin Ki smiled and said that the professor did all this for the Zhao family, so he should also get what he deserves. The main character hit the professor and shouted at him to die. Huan fell to his knees, coughing up blood. His pupils had already turned pale, but he said that he succeeded and was able to do it, meaning the experiment. Lin Ki left the corpses and went to the computers. He understood that this was a secret laboratory without security. He should not be seen or noticed by his new abilities. The main character pulled out the flash drive from the computer. He looked at the flash drive and realized that this was the processor data that could prove the professor's guilt. He must give it to others. Lin Ki ran out of the laboratory to save his sister. 9th Hospital of the Extreme Region. The sky was overcast with orange clouds. The hospital complex stood in the middle of a wasteland. The main character's sister was lying in the ward. A creepy man was peeling an apple with a knife. He handed the peeled apple to Zhu Wei and offered to eat it. Zhu Wei frowned and asked how dare he suggest such a thing after being kidnapped. The man looked at her calmly and asked who kidnapped her, since they were only ordered to protect them. Zhu Wei was immobilized with rope. She looked at the protagonist's sister, who was still unconscious. Zhu Wei's phone was taken away and she had to tell the knights what was going on here. She looked at the men who were in the chamber, realizing that they were D8 level fighters and she was no match for them. Suddenly the girl's phone started ringing. It was Lin Qi. The man took her phone in his hands and said that some guy was calling her. Zhu Wei thought that they didn't know about Lin Qi and asked if she could answer her. The man agreed, but said that he would hold the phone, and then accepted the call. Lin Qi ordered Zhu Wei over the phone to cover his sister. This surprised everyone in the room. The girl was confused, not understanding what he meant. Lin Qi suddenly knocked down the door to the ward. The man in the blue jacket was taken aback and asked who he was. Lin Qi was dressed in his uniform. He jumped at the man in the blue jacket. The main character kicked him in the head, not giving him a chance to counterattack. The man was thrown against the wall of the room. Zhu Wei stood up from the bed and called Lin Qi's name. The man in the green suit asked if he was Lin Qi. He suddenly attacked the main character with a knife in his hand. Lin Qi was able to deftly dodge the knife. He then punched the man in the stomach, causing him to bleed from the mouth, and said he was too slow. The unconscious man fell to the floor. Zhu Wei was shocked. The rope that immobilized the girl was torn. Lin Qi took his sister, placing her on his back, ordering her to get out of here. She and Zhu Wei ran out of the room. The huge building of the Doomsday Camp towered over the wasteland. Zhao stood opposite the cadets in the training hall. He said that today's training will test how they have learned new skills. Suddenly his phone rang, attracting the man's attention. He picked up the phone and the interlocutor shouted to him that Lin Qi had escaped and killed everyone in the laboratory. Zhao asked if he was sure. The interlocutor answered in the affirmative and said that both of his subordinates were wounded. Zhao tensed, removing the phone from his ear. He was sweating. The man entered the underground laboratory. He heard someone growl and then looked in the direction of the sound. He saw Zhao Chenggen trembling and growling. Zhao put his hand on his shoulder and asked what happened and if the guy ran away. He did not hear an answer to his question, but remained silent. Zhao Chenggen began to growl again, with his back to Zhao. The guy turned around, and it turned out that he had turned into a time monster. Zhao was taken aback. He could not believe what happened to Zhao Chenggen. Huan ran towards him from behind, who also became a monster of time. The man turned around. He was in shock. Zhao was not taken aback and hit the professor directly in the chest, after which his core came out. The core broke, after which the professor finally died. Zhao heard a growl behind him. He hit Zhao Chenggen in the stomach, but not with all his strength. He frowned, realizing that he simply could not kill him completely. With a blow he threw the guy back. He survived and continued to growl aggressively at Zhao. The man ran out into the corridor and headed towards the elevator. He ran into the elevator and the doors began to slowly close. Zhao Chenggen tried to catch up with him. The doors to the elevator closed exactly at the moment when the guy approached the elevator. Zhao began to leave the laboratory. He said no one should know about it. Multi-story buildings stood close to each other in the wasteland. The gate in front of one of the buildings was closed. It was a large, tall building. Lin Qi with his sister on his back stood near the gate. The main character said that there are no people here and they will stop here. Zhu Wei looked tense. She turned to the guy and said that those Zhao brothers will get away with impunity. Lin Qi jumped on the fence and told her not to worry about it and to hurry up. The girl jumped over the fence and they ended up on the territory of the building. The group headed towards the entrance. The corridors had gray walls. There was no one in the building except them. Lin Qi put his sister on the bed and covered her with a blanket. He said that although this is an extreme area, there should be no zombies here. Zhu Wei asked what they should do next. The main character tensed and frowned. He was silent for a while, thinking that although the Zhao family was powerful, he had revealed their secrets and they should look for him now. Lin Qi headed out and said that he would first find something for Zhu Wei and sister, and then deal with the Zhao family. Zhu Wei asked him to return as soon as possible. The main character left the room, looking in. He understood that now he could not trust anyone except Zhu Wei. The guy closed the door behind him. A system window appeared with a store where various goods, improvements and skills were sold for a certain number of days. Several system windows appeared around Lin Qi. Upgrade skills, Rank D Mountain Destroying Strike, Rank D Divine Breathing Technique. Name, Lin Qi. Physical Strength, D. Mind Strength, D. Special Skills, Rank D Electric Serpent, Rank Cosmos Meditation D. The main character looked at his characteristics and realized that everything was in order. He added new abilities to the active ones and improved everything he could. Fighters below level C will not be able to do anything to him. The guy frowned slightly. He knew that he couldn't go to the hospital, so he would go to Uncle Zhang. When Lin Qi was a knight, he couldn't avoid being injured. But the hospital was very expensive, so he was treated by him. The main character approached the building on which the old doctor's sign hung. He went into Uncle Jang's office. At this time, he consulted the patient about her tests. The patient began to leave the office, and Jang asked what he could do to help the guy. He didn't recognize Lin Ki because he had a mask on his face. As soon as the guy took off his mask, he greeted Jang. The doctor stood up from his chair and said that he had not seen Lin Ki for a long time and that he looked tired. Lin Ki replied that everything was as before. He sweated slightly and frowned, saying that he wanted to buy some glucose. Uncle Jang was a middle-aged man with a small mustache. The man asked if Lin Ki was leaving the city and advised him not to do so now, as there was a large group of zombies roaming outside. Jang responded negatively and said that it was for his sick friend, because going to the hospital was inconvenient. Jang closed his eyes with relief and said that this is good. If something happens to him, his sister will worry. He handed the main character a bag of medicines and syringes, asking him to take it. Lin Ki picked up the package and asked if it was free. He understood that this was not a peaceful time. It could cost the whole day. Jang said his clinic will close soon. This surprised the main character very much, and he asked why. The man looked down sadly and said that currently, medicine prices are expensive. People simply cannot afford it. Lin Ki understood that all resources would go into the hands of the owners of those hospitals. He stood opposite Jang and listened to him. The guy frowned, thinking about how Uncle Jang had helped them a lot. Suddenly, the main character grabbed the man's wrist. He began to hand over to him the days that were counted. Jang looked at his wrist and realized that the guy had given him 30 days. Lin Ki raised his hand and said that if Jang had any problems, he could contact him at any time. The doctor thanked Lin Ki. Suddenly, the door to the office suddenly opened and a man appeared in the passage. He asked the doctor if he had met anyone suspicious here. Jang turned to him and asked again. Lin Ki put the mask on his face at this time. The unknown man said what kind of people buy syringes, glucose, etc. Jang sharply looked at the package in Lin Ki's hands. The unknown man smirked and told Jang that if he noticed someone like that, he should inform him immediately. Otherwise, he would stop supplying the goods. Jang tensed and sweated as he looked at Lin Ki. He said he understood everything. The man sharply turned his gaze to the main character. He bent down and pointed at the package, asking what it was for. Jang was taken aback. Lin Ki frowned and realized that this man was from the Zhao family. The main character did not want to expose Uncle Jang, so he decided to run away. He took off and ran past the man, heading towards the exit. The man was angry. He turned his head, not understanding how this happened. He took his phone and called his allies, saying that Lin Ki was next to him and let them come quickly. The main character ran into a gateway not far from the clinic. He understood that this was bad for Uncle Jang. He heard a crowd of people around the corner looking for him, asking where he was. They shouted that the guy shouldn't have gone far. Lin Ki knew that he couldn't fix it now, so he would figure it out later. He ran along a narrow passage between buildings. Suddenly, coming around the corner, he noticed a strange man. He stopped opposite him. This person had a system window with a photo of Lin Ki. He recognized the guy. The stranger ran towards Lin Ki shouting that he was killing the citizens of their glorious city. The main character grabbed his wrist. He threw the guy over himself, hitting him on the ground. Lin Ki lowered his gaze, realizing that he did not have time for a showdown, because he had to run. He rushed further along the narrow streets of the city. The stranger stood up and shouted that Lin Ki could run, but he wouldn't go far. Yellow clouds floated in the sky above the city. The main character hid around the corner, thinking that they shouldn't catch up with him. Suddenly someone called out to him from behind. He turned around and saw 3 guys. One of them told the other that there was no need to be careless, because Lin Ki was level D9. The guy in the yellow jacket replied that there were 3 of them, and Lin Ki was one. The main character looked at them and frowned, telling them not to be so confident. He took a step forward towards them. In just a few minutes he dealt with them. He made a final blow to the guy in the jacket's face. Lin Ki looked at the unconscious guys and said that the Zhao family should leave this city. Someone shouted that it seemed like Lin Ki was leaving town. The guy walked on, not understanding why they thought he was leaving. Until his sister wakes up, he can't do this. Evening began to fall in the deserted city. Lin Ki came with medicine to his sister and Zhu Wai. Zhu Wai asked what he did that the whole city was talking about him. The main character turned to her and said that he had discovered the secret of the Zhao family. They kill children. The girl was taken aback and asked what this secret was. Lin Ki frowned and told her that they set up an underground laboratory in the Doomsday Camp and experimented on people there. Many died there, and the guy himself almost died like that. He added that in the process of escaping he killed Zhao and Professor Huan. Zhu Wai tensed as she thought about the guy's words. She looked at Lin Qi and said that he killed a member of the Zhao family and was being chased by the entire city. The girl asked if he wanted to move to Minmeng. The main character knew that although there is a connection between these cities, it is maintained only by wanderers, but information is not transmitted so quickly. Lin Qi turned to Zhu Wai and replied that his sister had not woken up yet, it was too dangerous. However, they think that he is leaving, so it is safe here for now. The frightened girl asked what he would do. Lin Qi walked towards the bed. He replied that she did not need to be afraid of anything as long as he had the information. She agreed with him. The main character looked at his wrist and saw that he had 183 days left. He sat on the sofa near the bed and looked up. He was thinking about the fact that the Zhao family is in the inner region, and his time is not enough to even enter the outer region, so he needs to get some time first. The main character took the phone in his hands and began looking at his contact list. He thought about whether it was possible that the knights were in cahoots with the Zhao family, but immediately decided not to think about it. The guy opened the system window with the store, holding the phone in his hands. He was level D9, he should be able to fight Zhao. Suddenly the guy's phone received a call from Zhao himself. Lin Qi was surprised, but realized that he could not figure out his location. The main character answered the call. Zhao shouted to him that he could not escape and ordered him to give back what he had taken. Lin Qi frowned and replied that the initiative was now in his hands, and if they needed a flash drive, they must first prepare 3,000 days and a temporary card. A time card allows you to store time. Zhao stood in front of the window. He asked if Lin Qi wanted to bargain. The main character replied that he should give information from him in the evening. Shocked, Zhu Wai ran up to the guy and asked if he wanted to give the information to Zhao. He turned to her and responded negatively, but said that he needed to take revenge on Zhao. He arrived at the scrap metal plant at the agreed time. On the territory of the plant there were many buildings and workshops with large pipes. Lin Qi was already waiting for Zhao. He knew this place well, so it was perfect for the meeting. The wind blew his cloak. Zhao's level was C3. And he was also very confident, so Lin Qi thought that the man probably believed that he could defeat the protagonist with one move. The guy received a message from Zhao. He wrote to him that he would arrive at the scrap metal factory within half an hour and asked Lin Qi to come alone. The guy thought that he would definitely be alone. 20 minutes have passed. A black car drove into the factory territory and honked its horn. Zhao got out of the car and looked around. The main character looked down and made sure that the man really came alone, and at least here he was not going to cheat. A new message arrived on Zhao's phone. Lin Qi texted him that he was in the dormitory building up the road. With a leisurely step, the man began to approach the main character. Zhao put his hands behind his back and asked where what he needed was. Lin Qi frowned and asked in response where what he needed was. Zhao threw some object, which the protagonist deftly caught with one hand. These were 3 capsules for 1,000 days. Lin Qi looked at them and realized that now he would be able to enter not only the outer area, but also the inner area. The condition for entering the inner region was precisely the presence of 3,000 days. The main character put his hand in his pocket and ordered the hunt for him to be cancelled. Zhao humbly said that he could not do this. Lin Qi grinned as he showed him the flash drive and asked how he knew he didn't have a copy. The man with a serious face was silent for a while, thinking about it. He turned away from the guy and ordered his men over the phone to cancel the search for Lin Qi, to which they responded in the affirmative. Zhao hung up the call and said that everything was ready. Lin Qi threw him a flash drive and told him to catch it. Zhao grinned, putting his hand under the flash drive. As soon as the object fell into his hands, it began to ignite. The man was taken aback and realized that the guy had thrown him a mini smoke bomb. A large explosion occurred, plunging the plant area into a smoke screen. Lin Qi disappeared amidst the thick smoke, and Zhao shouted to him that he would not be able to escape. The man looked at that smoke, thinking that the guy had already escaped. Suddenly, Lin Qi jumped out of the smoke, preparing to strike. He shouted that he had no intention of running. Zhao dodged the punch and said that Lin Qi was a fool for not understanding the difference between D9 and C3. The main character kicked him, asking if he was sure. The blow hit the target, and the man was thrown back. He fell on his back, but was able to tumble and get back to his feet. The main character raised his finger up and smiled, saying that this was the first lesson for the instructor. Zhao took off his jacket and threw it aside, saying that he would now show what he was capable of. He ran screaming towards the guy, as if the spirit of a roaring tiger appeared behind him. Lin Qi stood in a fighting pose, preparing to repel the attack. He understood that it would not be easy for a D9 level fighter to react in time to such an attack. Although it is late evening and the place is remote, it would be safer for him not to attract attention, since this is a city. He decided to go according to plan. They attacked each other and dodged attacks. They fought at approximately the same level and were in no way inferior to each other. Zhao sweated and tensed. He didn't understand what was the matter, because Lin Qi is not particularly fast, but he still guesses all the man's attacks. Zhao tried to attack from above, and hit the body, but all attacks were deftly repelled by the main character. Lin Qi even asked if Zhao had begun to doubt himself. He jumped towards the entrance to the building and said that he knew this abandoned city very well, having lived in it for a long time. Zhao was furious. He bared his teeth and shouted that he would kill him. He ran towards the guy with lightning speed, preparing to strike again. Lin Qi deftly jumped over the ribbon that was stretched across the doors from below. 2 white ribbons were stretched taut, their ends attached to the edges of the doors. Lin Qi tensed, wondering if Zhao would fall into this trap. The man's foot touched the stretch tape. He tripped and began to fall down. Zhao fell to the ground on his stomach, his legs bound with white ribbons. The main character smiled and said that he didn't think such tricks would work on Zhao. The man pulled out a black pistol from his pocket. He pointed the gun directly at Lin Qi and prepared to kill the guy. The main character hit the man in the hand, knocking out the gun. He raised the weapon and took it in his hands. The guy understood that it was almost night, so if a shot was fired, there would be a lot of trouble. He pointed a gun at Zhao and told him that he was level C3, but he had never been outside the city or killed temporary zombies. The guy put his foot on the man's chest and said that he had almost no survival experience. With his finger on the trigger, Lin Qi frowned and asked if Zhao knew that a knife was more effective in close combat. The protagonist's opponent tensed and sweated. He asked if he wanted to kill him. The main character looked seriously at his enemy and replied that he deserved to die and should die for all the deaths of the test subjects in their experiments. The guy took out a blade that was attached to his glove and ordered Zhao to go away. He plunged the blade straight into the man's chest. After the blow, a large wound was left on Zhao's chest, and he himself began to bleed. On the man's wrist was written that he had 668 days left. Lin Qi decided to take these days for himself. Suddenly something caught the guy's attention. He saw black car keys at his feet. The main character picked up the keys and decided to see what was interesting in the car. He opened the rear door but found nothing but black leather seats. The spacious trunk was also empty. Lin Qi sat in the front seat behind the wheel. He noticed that another destination was displayed on the screen in the outer zone. Perhaps this was Zhao's house. The screen showed a blue map of the area. The guy got out of the car and looked at it with a thoughtful face. He frowned a little and put his hand to his chin. Lin Qi remembered that the car that hit his sister had a license plate. It was in the inner zone. Zhao's car license plate had the letter C on it, which meant outer area. The protagonist could easily use the car to drive into the outer area. Since the car was empty, Lin Qi decided to go to Zhao's house and take a look there. He left the factory and rushed along the city roads. The guy pulled up to the checkpoint. He knew that even though there was no one here, as soon as the intruder appeared, he would be surrounded within 3 minutes. Lin Qi stopped near the security post. They let him through without any problems, and he went straight to Zhao's house. The luxurious gate opened in front of the car. As soon as Lin Qi got out of the car, an expensive mansion with many details appeared in front of him. This shocked him. He headed towards the entrance to the house. Although Zhao has not left the city yet, he must be armed, so Lin Qi needs to watch carefully. Meanwhile, in one of the private offices in the inner area, a bearded man sat at a table in front of a computer with a cigar in his hands. It was Zhao Chong, the head of the Zhao family. In front of him stood a guy in a blue suit. It was Zhao Zhongbei. He was a young member of the Zhao family. Zhao Chong raised the cigar to his mouth and asked if there was any news about Zhao. Zhao Zhongbei looked down and said that he called, but no one answered. The man lowered his gaze and said that in any case it was over with him and he needed to count his losses. He asked Zhao Zhongbei if he asked someone to pick Zhao up. The guy answered him that the second brother had already sent someone for him, and he would soon be there. Zhao Chong loudly slammed his hand on the table. He looked straight ahead and asked how dare Lin Qi kill his son. He ordered Zhao Zhongbei to tell Zhao to cut the main character into pieces and throw them to the dogs. In addition, he ordered his third brother to be taken care of while he completed the formalities. At this time, Lin Qi entered Zhao's house. Before him was a view of an expensively decorated corridor with a marble floor. The main character smiled and clenched his fist. He said that there are so many reinforced weapons here that cost tens of thousands of days. Lin Qi walked further and saw that there was even a genetic module here. It looked like a huge glass capsule. The gene module is a valuable piece of equipment that can absorb gene drugs more efficiently, and costs 3,000 days. Lin Qi walked to the control room and saw that there was also a large smell of genetic potions here. The main character undressed and climbed into the capsule. A mask with a tube was connected to his mouth and nose. With his level D9, he was only a short distance away from level C. An image of DNA macromolecules appeared. The genetic capsule not only enhances a person's vitality, but also strengthens the body by tearing apart the flesh and then rebuilding it. An image appeared of a man whose body was covered in scars and the veins on his face and neck were bulging. In the case of a breakthrough from D9 to C1, the degree of pain is unimaginable, and an ordinary person may even lose consciousness. Lin Ki was in a capsule, being submerged in water. His eyes were closed. He woke up abruptly, opening his eyes. A system window appears. Congratulations, the rank has been upgraded to C1 level. One profitable lottery has been received. A goods store opened in front of Lin Ki. A system window has appeared. Every time you overcome the letter level limit, you get a chance to win a profitable lottery in which the level of your winnings will not be limited by your own. The main character was happy about this. Now he understood why he had previously only gotten items of level D. But now he will be able to get items of level C or even B. The guy also noted that the pain had almost gone away. He continued to look at the goods in the store while in the capsule. After some time he left the capsule. He smiled and looked at his body. Lin Ki felt that he had improved a lot, and if he were to meet Zhao again, he should be able to instantly defeat him with his mental strength. While the main character was getting dressed, he decided to use his chance in the lottery. He pressed the appropriate button. A system window appears. Congratulations on receiving the level B item, Optical Cloak. The Optical Cloak has the first level of protection. Using the energy of the wearer, it can refract light, making its wearer invisible. This cloak was a cape with a blue hood, on which honeycombs were embroidered. Lin Ki grinned when he realized that it was an invisibility cloak. He immediately tried on the new piece of clothing. He will really need a cloak, because this way he can run not only from the Zhao family, but also from temporary zombies. However, the cloak consumes a lot of energy. The main character took a closer look at the fabric and realized that such good things should be removed first to avoid damage. He decided to see what else there was in Zhao's house. The guy opened the box and examined it. There were time cards lying there, which Lin Ki picked up and examined. He decided to move on. At the end of the cabinet were books and framed photographs. Lin Ki turned his attention to these items, noticing something interesting to himself. He took the photo in his hands, which showed the Zhao brothers, Zhao Chenggen, Zhao and Zhao Zhongbei, whom Lin Ki had never seen before. They stood against the backdrop of an expensive car. The main character looked closely at the license plate number of the car. He tensed and wondered if this was the car that hit his sister. It was the car of Zhao Zhongbei, the young heir of the Zhao family. He had shoulder-length blonde hair and wore glasses. Lin Ki realized that it was he who shot down his sister, for which he would take revenge on him. Suddenly someone knocked on the door. Lin Ki turned around towards the noise. He saw from the cameras that it was a man in an orange uniform, and there was a truck parked in front of the house. The main character looked at the images from the cameras and wondered if it was too late to deliver the goods. Since the owner of the house was dead, Lin Ki decided to pretend to be him. He crossed his arms and noticed that the delivery man looked excited that he could help Lin Ki. The main character asked through the intercom to leave the delivery and leave. The delivery man obeyed him without sensing a trick. He looked at the camera feed and noticed that the delivery man was leaving, but the truck never left. To understand everything, Lin Ki decided to go outside and see what was in the back. He opened the body door and saw a cage there. Lin Ki realized that it looked like an animal pen and wondered if Zhao really ordered such things. The main character decided to take a closer look. Suddenly, the face of Zhao Chenggen appeared, who had already been turned into a temporary zombie. This made Lin Ki afraid. He backed away as Zhao Chenggen stuck his hand out of the cage. The main character bared his teeth and said that the Zhao family really cares about their reputation, so they immediately decided to deliver their son from that laboratory. According to the law of this city, temporary zombies found in the city can only be dealt with by the one who found them, but if the zombie poses a danger, it is destroyed. Zhao Chenggen tried to get out of the cage, growling angrily. Lin Ki took out his phone and mentally addressed Zhao Chenggen, saying that although he was dead, he could help him in overthrowing the Zhao family. This kind of evidence will definitely hurt their reputation. The guy started filming Zhao Chenggen, who had turned into a zombie, with his phone camera. He looked at the resulting video and thought that if it spreads, the Zhao family will definitely pay for what they did. And if information about the experiments is included, then they will definitely face difficult times. The main character came closer to the cage. He understood that if Zhao Chenggen died an unnatural death, it means he did not have much time. He was a maximum level of D9. The guy opened the cage opening button. The grate began to slowly rise up. The maddened zombie immediately began to attack Lin Qi. The main character kneed Zhao Chenggen's face while taking out his blade. He pointed the bladed weapon at the zombies. The blade hit Zhao Chenggen directly in the stomach. Lin Qi clenched his fist. Zhao Chenggen fell to the ground unconscious while the main character stood next to him. He now had 45 days left. Before this, he received 3,000 days from Zhao and found several cards in his house. Lin Qi looked at his wrist and said that he might soon be able to raise his mind power to C1. He headed back to Zhao's house. A few minutes later, several cars and people were standing in the courtyard of the mansion. A guy with a square haircut and a scar on his cheek said that the young master didn't like people entering his house, so he ordered the others to wait outside. The staff, dressed in orange t-shirts, humbly agreed with him. The guy walked inside, where Lin Qi was already standing with his back to him. The guy didn't understand the trick, so he bowed and called him young master, saying that it was necessary to take his brother home. Lin Qi turned around and realized that this was a person from the Zhao family. The guy pointed his finger at him and recognized him as Lin Qi, asking what he was doing here. He also asked him where the second young master was. There was a long distance between them. The main character looked at the guy again. He figured this guy couldn't fight at first glance, but his instincts told him he was at least C1 level. Lin Qi narrowed his eyes and frowned slightly. He understood that a pistol would not be a problem for his opponent, so he needed to move into close combat. Some fighters can fight over long distances with great strength, but once the distance is shortened, they become helpless. But an experienced fighter will never allow anyone to get close to him. Lin Qi pointed his finger forward and asked the enemy if Zhao was standing behind him. The guy turned around in surprise, but saw no one there. At this time, the main character was preparing to attack him. He shouted that even the workers in the Zhao family were useless. Lin Qi used an enhanced dash skill. He readied his blade. The enemy dodged his attack, although he looked tense. He smirked and told Lin Qi that he was too weak. The guy clapped his hands and flames appeared around him. He shouted that this was a fire elemental technique, a fire ring. The main character was thrown back. He looked at his enemy, who had flames all around him. Some fire elemental fighters can create a ring of fire around themselves to drive away the enemy. The only drawback is that it cannot be used continuously. Lin Qi frowned as he looked at his enemy. He had recently reached C1 level, so he was confident that he could kill him. The guy shouted that if Lin Qi didn't chicken out, he could try again, after which he fired several fire projectiles. Lin Qi knelt down on one knee. He understood that with fiery shots he was blocking his escape routes. This guy uses his strength well even in such a small space. He has quite a bit of experience. The main character thought that if this is so, then he needs to hurry. He jumped up and ran forward. Lin Qi blocked one of the projectiles with his hands. Explosions were heard behind him. The guy clenched his teeth, looking ahead in confusion. In the hands of his enemy was a huge red and black fireball. He threw the ball directly at Lin Qi, ordering him to turn into ashes. Lin Qi concentrated and noticed that the attack speed was slow. He was able to dodge the hot ball that flew past. After the fireball hit the wall, an explosion was heard, which threw the main character back. He successfully landed on his feet. His opponent looked confident and was grinning. Lin Qi's black tank top was torn at the shoulder. The guy didn't expect the fire to be so strong. Lin Qi has a lot of experience fighting temporary zombies, but this is the first time he has met an elemental owner who is also a C1 level fighter. The enemy spread his arms to the sides and asked to tell him where the second gentleman was, and then he would not attack. Lin Qi frowned and replied that he had already made a noise, and there were a lot of workers outside, so there was no way out. He took out a black pistol from his pocket. The main character began to shoot at the enemy, but he deftly dodged all the shots. The guy grinned and said that although the gun was strong, it was useless against a person with the elements. He said that his body may be slow, but he even notices the way Lin Qi pulls the trigger. Lin Qi put on a sullen face as he put away the gun and shouted that he knew about it. This caused anger and bewilderment in his opponent. The fire alarm went off and water poured down from above. Lin Qi said that he was not aiming at him. The guy spread his arms to the sides, and the fire appeared around him again. He said that these droplets are not enough, he will quickly evaporate them. Lin Qi replied that this was not enough, but thanks to them he could defeat him. Lin Qi activated the Thunder Snake ability. It was as if a green viper appeared behind him, surrounded by electricity. The main character was serious and focused. His opponent was taken aback and asked what it was. Lin Qi put his hand on the puddles of water. With the help of water, he was able to give an electric shock over a long distance. The electrical attack was heading straight towards his enemy. He couldn't understand how it was possible that he was physically strong and had the element at the same time. An electric viper with sharp fangs rushed forward. The electric shock struck his opponent from head to toe. A house fire started. People on the street did not understand what happened and why everything caught fire. They realized that their eldest was fighting and they needed to check what happened. They entered a house engulfed in flames. Lin Ki appeared before them, with their boss lying unconscious at his feet. The employees ran up to their colleague. Lin Ki looked at him and thought that this guy's strength is great and he fights well. They began to unfasten their power belts, which increase strength, and since the element of fire itself is offensive, this creates a strong attack. But thunder is stronger than lightning, and these belts cannot do anything to Lin Ki. A crowd of people started shooting at Lin Ki, trying to kill him. The main character deftly maneuvered between shots, not allowing himself to be wounded. They must not reveal that he has the element of lightning, otherwise there will be even more problems. Lin Ki started to run away. He thought that no one should be left alive. The house was completely on fire and a group of guys inside started screaming. They were already lying on the floor unconscious. Lin Ki understood that the fire was growing and he needed to leave quickly. He heard that a rapid response team had already arrived outside. The main character did not expect them to arrive so quickly. He ran out of the house with lightning speed. There were cars and a crowd of people standing in front of the burning mansion. Lin Ki hid in the bushes and watched them. He realized that there were too many people with strong weapons. The main character dived under dense thickets of bushes. After some time, Lin Ki was already standing on the roof of a high-rise building. Nearby stood modern buildings made of glass and concrete. He opened a system window with a goods store. A system window appeared asking if Lin Ki wanted to buy medicine. The main character bought himself some medicine. He began to drink the potion from the test tube, thinking that he must take revenge on Zhao Zhongbei. Lin Ki must take revenge on the Zhao family, otherwise things will be more difficult with the new arrest warrant. He entered the stairwell of the building. The guy began to climb down from the roof. He frowned, looking straight ahead. The main character thought that this family is not so simple and he should be more careful, otherwise he will not only not cure his sister, but will also set himself up. He decided to scroll through the news feed. The news said, Zhao Chong, the head of the Zhao family, has broken through to level C5. The family acquired a pharmaceutical company, and Zhao Chong said his goal is to make Quancheng free of disease. Lin Ki thought it was so hypocritical that he would make money even from poor people. He understood that their influence was incredible. Defeating this family would not be easy. The main character tensed and continued to scroll through the news, going downstairs. He walked up several flights of stairs, thinking about going back and coming up with a plan. A stranger stood near the door, of whom only a silhouette could be seen. A note was left near the door handle. Lin Ki stood near the door, thinking that this girl is quite reliable. She does not walk or run in the streets. He entered the room and waved. Zhu Wei ran out into the corridor and exclaimed that he had returned. The main character excitedly asked if she was resting. The girl came up to him and said that something had happened that made her unable to sleep. She showed him the phone with the news. There was a photograph of the burning Zhao mansion and a paragraph about how many corpses were found at the scene. But no evidence was found. Lin Ki looked away and awkwardly asked Zhu Wei if she thought he did it. The guy himself thought that a completely burned house would help him, because then no one would know about his lightning power. Zhu Wei said with a worried face that she checked on the internet that Zhao is the second son of the Zhao family, the most powerful family. Lin Ki looked at the girl confused and asked if she really thought he was capable of such a thing. The girl was silent for a while, after which she sighed and answered affirmatively, saying that he was quite strong. Lin Ki started walking towards the bed and told Zhu Wei to rest as he would look after his sister himself. The girl stretched and smiled, saying that in that case she went to bed. She went into the next room and closed the door behind her. The main character quietly approached his sister's bed. She was lying under a blanket. There were flowers on the nightstand next to her. Lin Ki thought that his sister was in a coma and only needed glucose, otherwise things would have been much worse with the search for materials. He took his sister by the hand and began to convey to her the days that he had on his account. The main character looked at his sister and said that he found the person who did this to her and soon he will be able to take revenge for her. The next day came. The sun broke through the clouds and illuminated the roofs of the buildings. Zhu Wei, who had just woken up, walked out of her room, yawning and rubbing her eyes. She walked out into the hallway and saw Lin Ki holding a bag of groceries in his hand. The girl began to eat a piece of bread, examining the contents of the package. She asked if Lin Ki was afraid of running into the Knights of Glory while running freely around the city during the day. The main character told her that his arrest warrant had been lifted. The girl was delighted and asked if they could stay here. Lin Qi looked at her seriously and answered in the negative, as he needed to go to the inner area. Zhu Wei looked at him touchily and pointed her finger at the guy. She asked how he could do this, go to the inner region to eat aromatic delicious food there, and leave her here with bread and noodles. The main character frowned and replied that he was not going to have fun. He wanted to avenge his sister. Zhu Wei frowned and asked excitedly if it was dangerous to take revenge. The guy took her hand and asked her not to worry, because he had a plan. The girl looked embarrassed and confused as Lin Qi held her hand. She looked down and asked him to be careful, because he promised to bring her home. Lin Qi headed towards the exit of the apartment and waved to her, asking her not to worry, because nothing would happen to him. Lin Qi changed into a cape and put on a mask. He stood on the street and thought that even though the arrest warrant had been lifted, if the Zhao family found out that he was alive, he would be in trouble. The main character walked past two guys who were discussing something. The guy in the green t-shirt asked his friend if he had heard that Doomsday Coach Zhao was dead. His friend told him that he had heard that he was at C3 level. The guy agreed with him and said that his car was driven away and his house was completely burned down. Lin Qi turned to them and remembered that Zhao's heart was damaged, so he could not turn into a zombie. He frowned and thought that even though he stole his enemy's car, he turned on the special mode, the car would be impossible to track. The main character reached the border of the outer zone. This was a checkpoint. He saw his photo in a wanted poster. The reward was 100. Lin Qi realized that his plan did not work and the warrant was not lifted. If he doesn't want problems, then he will have to use the old methods. He approached a high metal fence. The guy raised his head and looked at the height of the fence. He understood that anyone who wanted to enter the inner region must have 3,000 days with him. The inner boroughs are much more strictly governed than the outer boroughs, so crime rates can be kept below 1% all year. The main character made a strong push from the ground and jumped. He was able to jump over a high fence and landed on the other side. The 3,000 days availability limit is not a problem for a C1 fighter, because it was not originally designed for fighters of this number. Lin Qi ran forward down the street, thinking that if he has a C1 level, then it is quite possible for him not to be able to do it for 3,000 days. The interior area looked great. Beautiful, neat houses stood next to each other. Various cars drove along the roads. The main character examined the landscapes of the city. He noted that the interior region is thriving. He has already been here several times, but every time this feeling overtakes him. Lin Qi took out his phone and looked up the route to his destination using the navigator. He arrived at the Sitten Hotel. It was a multi-story building. The main character went to the reception and asked for a room on the north side. The hotel employees responded positively. Lin Qi walked down the marble-floored corridor. To live here for a day, you need to pay 20 days, which is twice as expensive as in the outer region. But for revenge, Lin Qi was willing to pay such a price. He entered the hotel apartment number 3103 and turned on the light. The main character approached the panoramic window with access to the balcony. He pulled back the curtains that were blocking the view. From the window of his room there was a view of the Zhao family mansion, which looked very expensive. He took a closer look and saw that there were guards standing outside the house, and the Zhao family's armed men were standing all over the place. Lin Qi looked through binoculars to understand what would be waiting for him. He understood that the Zhao family was rich and brave. They definitely had sea-level fears in their guards. He could not even imagine how much blood and money they needed to accumulate such an army. The main character put away the binoculars. To take revenge, he needs to at least have both types of powers at C1 level. Lin Qi stood in front of the window with a piece of paper in his hands. He was intently writing something down. 5 days passed and Zhao Zhongbei never left the house. He was enjoying life in the manor. Lin Qi didn't have a chance to see him. The sheet described the daily routine of the Zhao family, which Lin Qi figured out through observation. The main character looked at the sheet a little upset, thinking that he had no chance. There were few guards during the day, but they are too noticeable, so you can do this at night. However, at night the head of the Zhao Chong family returns from work. The guy turned away from the window and looked towards the desktop. He walked over to the flash drive, which contained evidence of the Zhao family's illegal experiments. It will be difficult for them to escape punishment. Lin Qi took the flash drive in his hands and squeezed it in his fist. He said that he was going to avenge his sister on his own. The sounds of a new notification sounded. Lin Qi looked at the phone screen and noticed in surprise that this message was from an unknown number. The message read, Zhao Chong, level C5 advanced, Central District, nephew of the head of the Wu family, eldest son of Zhao Zhongbei. Zhao's second son has gone missing. The third son of Zhao Chenggen has gone missing. The family established the Zhao estate in the interior area, which is heavily guarded. Lin Qi read the messages. It took him 100 days to buy the information on the black market. It's really detailed. Suddenly, Lin Qi's attention was drawn to the remaining information. The message read, the family has established the Zhao estate in the inner region, which is heavily guarded, including the scion of the Wu family, whose strength reaches the sea level. The guy wondered if this was the same Wu family that was one of the two great families. The main character continued to carefully read the information on his smartphone. Now it was no surprise to him that a family from the interior could control most of the pharmaceutical industry. This was troublesome for Lin Qi. The Wu family in the central area is one of the two families that built the city. Along with another family, they followed the city lord to clear the area of temporary zombies. Now almost all the knights are on their side. Lin Qi frowned and became angry. Even if they rely on the Wu family, his sister's pain must be avenged no matter what. Lin Qi began to walk from the desk to the bed. He sat in the lotus position and fire flared up around him. The clock ticked. The clock hands gradually moved. Several hours passed. The main character was focused on meditation. He controlled his breathing, closing his eyes. Suddenly the guy opened his eyes. He looked at his hands and was glad that he had finally reached the C1 level. The guy got out of bed. He thought that going from D9 to C1 was a threshold, and the difficulty of advancement increased greatly, and there were a lot of people stuck here. He looked at the number of days on his wrist, realizing that a big breakthrough meant a big jump in strength. Lin Qi began boxing in the air, testing his newfound strength. His fist burned with fire. He did not expect such strength, because he did not even have to drink the genetic potion. A new system window appeared in front of him. Congratulations, the strength has been increased to C1. One profitable lottery has been received. He was surprised by this. In a profitable lottery, you can win a prize that will not be limited to the letter level. The main character looked at the system window with a notification. His invisibility cloak proved useful. A system window has appeared. An optical cloak has the first level of protection. Using the energy of the wearer, it can refract light, making its wearer invisible. With a happy face, the guy tried on the raincoat again, looking at himself in the mirror. The cloak began to refract the light, turning white at first. The main character again noted the advantages of this thing. The cloak became transparent, hiding the body. However, arms and a head protruded from the cloak and remained visible. Despite the positive qualities of the thing, Lin Qi noted that it consumes too much energy. But with this cloak, his physical and mental strength, he can easily defeat the Zhao family. But after revenge, he will need to try to get out of there. He looked out the window. There was a large building with a screen there. The main character moved away from the window towards the bed. He sat in the lotus position and began to meditate, and a yellow aura appeared around him. He had to level up and use the flash drive to lure out the heads of the Zhao family for revenge. Lin Qi began meditating on the starry sky and seemed to find himself in space. The next day, the hotel building was illuminated by warm sunlight. Lin Qi finished his meditation and opened his eyes. A lightning bolt appeared in his pupils. A system window appeared in front of him. Congratulations, the level has been increased. One profitable lottery has been received. The main character pressed the button to use the lottery. He was wondering what he would get this time. A system window appears. Congratulations on achieving level C skill, stage 1 lightning rod. A schematic image of the skill appeared under the system window. A system window has appeared. The lightning rod consumes a large amount of mental power. The power can be collected and infused into the body, which not only improves the body, but also enhances the power of lightning. The guy clenched his hand into a fist and a stream of air appeared around it. Blue lightning began to appear around Lin Qi, and his hair immediately began to rise up. He smiled and said that this technique not only improves the body, but even the perception becomes better. Closing his eyes, he noticed that there were insects in the corner of the room behind the table. Using his keen hearing, he heard a waiter walking down the corridor with a cart. He was even able to recognize that the guest was sleeping in the next room. Lin Qi opened a good store in his performance. This move is too good, as it upgrades all of his skills to level C, thus he can defeat even a level C1 fighter. A system window appeared. Lightning rod. Price, 3,000 days. Sell or accept. Lin Qi pressed the acceptance button, although he was surprised that acceptance was so expensive. He read that the second round of admission costs 5,000 days, and the third round costs 10,000 days. The main character frowned and thought that if he advanced the skill to the third stage, it would be even more useful. He looked at the gorgeous view from the balcony. Below were expensive cottages and palm trees. Lin Ke knew that with a lightning rod, his chances of success were higher. He turned around and looked at his watch. Even though the guy had been training all day, he didn't feel tired, quite the opposite. A surge of strength came to him. The guy looked around the mansion of his opponents again. The head of the Zhao family leads a quiet life and rarely leaves the house. There are few opportunities for the main character, and the risk is high. He smiled, looking at the sunset sky. He had an idea. He took his smartphone and started typing about the secrets of the Zhao family, their secret experiments, and the forcible detention of the Zhao family people. After that, Lin Ke clicked on the send button. The anonymous email was then successfully sent. 50 minutes have passed. A white car drove along the road not far from the hotel. The main character examined the entire perimeter with binoculars. He said that the head of Zhao left hurriedly. It seems that he received the news, and their family is really powerful. He removed the binoculars from his face and thought that no matter how great their strength, the Zhao family cannot cope with such a disaster alone. They are helped by the Wu family. But Zhao Zhongbei must pay for what he did to his sister. The white SUV continued driving down the road. Night has come. There were 2 guards standing at the gate of the Zhao estate. The shaved guard opened a pack of cigarettes and told the newcomer not to be so nervous, because this is the Zhao family. They have 30 guards, and they also have earthbenders who take turns and also help them. The frightened newcomer began to sweat and said that people with earth abilities could hear other people's footsteps from a great distance. The shaved guard lit a cigarette and replied that it was not a matter of hearing, because as long as he walked on the ground, they felt it. He offered the newcomer cigarettes. The guy refused, because smoking is expensive and takes up time. He quit a long time ago. The shaved guard exhaled acrid tobacco smoke and said he was sorry. A rustling sound was heard somewhere nearby, making the newcomer scared. A shaved security guard came up to him and put his arm around his shoulder, saying that it was probably a cat, because nothing usually happens on the night shift. While they were chatting, Lin Ke, wearing an invisibility cloak, jumped over the fence. He landed on the grounds of the estate and quietly walked forward. After walking a short distance, he found himself near the road to the estate. The guy looked around the unimaginably large territory of the estate. The Zhao family captured almost all the important medical facilities in the city, like Uncle Zhang's hospital, and the place where Sister Lin Ke was treated. Even he understood that these were huge sums. The main character walked straight along the road along the trees. At the botanical garden, one of the guards was lighting a cigarette near the pond. He exhaled tobacco smoke and said that the rat had come into the trap on its own. He suddenly jumped up and ran forward. He looked around the corner, expecting to see an intruder there. However, near the house it was empty and there was no one. The guard was confused and embarrassed, because he felt movements nearby and even decided that he was mistaken. Suddenly something behind him caught his attention. He saw a guard lying on the ground. The guy approached him and saw traces of the attack on his colleague's neck. He tensed and sweated, because his colleague was a D8 level fighter and he was attacked with a knife by a C1 level fighter. While he was examining the unconscious fighter, the sounds of walking began again behind him. The guy's pupils narrowed and he frowned. The guard turned sharply, not understanding what was happening. Suddenly Lin Ke hit him, knocking him to the ground. The main character was focused. He understood that the guard's earthly abilities gave him incredible sensitivity to his movements. But when approaching, he still could not do anything. The surprised guard sat on the ground, not understanding who attacked him. Something alerted Lin Ke and he glanced at the guard. He saw that cracks appeared on the guy's stomach. This was an improved skill of D-level stone armor. The guy got angry and aggressively shouted that he had reacted quickly, and the attacker would soon be finished. He raised his palm above the ground and an orange aura appeared around it. The guard hit the ground with his hand, causing rifts. It was an improved skill called Earthquake. Lin Ke managed to notice this attack, so he jumped up, dodging the stone debris. The security guard looked around in confusion, trying to find the intruder. However, Lin Ke had already approached him and kicked him in the face. The guy fell exhausted to the ground face down. The main character looked around at the extent of the destruction. The guard managed to almost uproot the tree. Such an attack could attract a lot of attention, and then Lin Ke's plan would be in jeopardy. The main character grabbed the unconscious guard and dragged him in the other direction. He tried to open the first door. After that, he tried to open the door nearby. The guy discovered that these entrances were closed and could only be opened from the inside. He observed the situation for some time. He saw one of the guards leaving the house and lighting a cigarette. While the door was open, Lin Ke quietly walked into the house. This was a great opportunity for him. The guard didn't even notice this, after which the door closed. Lin Ki found himself inside a luxurious hall where an expensive massive chandelier hung. The house was full of staff. Suddenly a kettle of water fell from the tray. The waitresses noticed the noise and looked in the direction of the noise. The blonde told her colleague to be careful, because the gentleman or someone else could see it. The girl who picked up the kettle said that everything was fine and no one came out. The blonde replied that Zhao Jiangbei apparently never goes out at night. Lin Ki stood at the corner of the wall. Based on observations over the past few days, Zhao Jiangbei's room is located in the south wing on the second floor. He began to quietly climb the stairs in the hall. After that, he began to walk along the second floor corridor. He noticed a slightly open door to a room with a light on. Zhao Jiangbei was sitting there in the company of a young beautiful blonde whom he was pestering. The girl was embarrassed. The main character looked at him disapprovingly, thinking that his brothers were dead, and he was allowing himself to have fun. The girl made a frightened face and asked Zhao Jiangbei if the youngest gentleman really died. Zhao Jiangbei calmly told her that not only he died, but also his second brother, who most likely had an accident, and his house burned to the ground. He also added that his body has not been found, but most likely he died. The girl worriedly asked why he was so happy about death. Zhao Jiangbei smiled as he hugged her and replied that he would no longer have to share the inheritance with anyone. The girl laughed. Lin Ki was once again convinced that the Zhao family and everyone from there were rotten. He promised that Zhao Jiangbei would soon suffer the same fate as his brothers. The main character burst into the room and tore off his invisibility cloak. He ran straight towards Zhao Jiangbei, threatening to kill him. Zhao Jiangbei was kissing his lady at this time. The man turned around just as Lin Ki swung his fist. Zhao Jiangbei was taken aback and frowned, asking what was going on. He pushed the girl away from him with a nasty grin on his face. The blonde found herself between Lin Ki and Zhao Jiangbei. The main character stopped abruptly when he saw that a girl was standing in his way. The man smiled disgustingly, and the blonde was shocked. Lin Ki managed to catch the girl without harming her. He said that a person who uses others as a shield is a loser. Zhao Jiangbei raised his fist and ran towards the guy. The main character was able to dodge the punch. The man's next blow also did not reach the guy, who deftly dodged. Lin Ki kneed Zhao Jiangbei directly in the stomach. The man was shaking in pain, clutching his stomach, and asked how this was possible, since he was a C3 level fighter. Lin Ki looked at him and asked what he could do for a fighter of this level if he was stuffed with potions and serums. Zhao Jiangbei frowned and tensed, sweating. He had never seen Lin Ki. The man got angry and asked who he was and how he dared attack his family. The main character frowned and shouted that he would kill him. Zhao Jiangbei gritted his teeth and realized that the main character was determined. He turned back worriedly. There was a red panic button there. The man was thinking that he should just press and Lin Ki would die, no matter how strong he was. He immediately made a move and hurriedly ran towards the button. He was already reaching for the button, smiling maliciously. It was only a few centimeters away from pressing. Suddenly his arm was shot, after which blood flowed from there. Lin Ki had a high-tech pistol in his hands. Zhao Jiangbei began to shake as he looked at his shot arm. He looked pitifully at Lin Ki and begged him not to kill him, because he could give him as much time as he wanted. A pull-out shelf on his desk contained several temporary maps. The main character frowned and angrily answered him that time cards could not pay for his sister's health. These words made Zhao Jiangbei confused and taken aback. Lin Ki pointed his finger at him and shouted that he hit his sister with his car. She is still in a coma. Suddenly the realization of this fact overtook the man. He remembered driving fast in his red sports car with his girlfriend. He relaxedly put his hand on the car door and asked her if she could drive. The girl looked at him worriedly and advised him to drive slower because he might hit someone. Zhao Jiangbei chuckled and replied that people die in droves every day, and it would be okay if he killed a couple of people now. The girl was scared and excitedly said that if he kills them, he will be punished. He smiled widely and replied that he was from the Zhao family and no one could punish him. He spotted a suitable victim on the road and smiled like a psychopath. Zhao Jiangbei pressed the gas pedal harder. At this time, Sister Lin Ki, dressed in a yellow dress, was crossing the road. Within a second, she was knocked down and her bag flew to the side. She lay unconscious on a pedestrian crossing, with a lot of blood around her. Zhao Jiangbei turned to Lin Ki and asked if he was her brother. Lin Ki frowned and asked if he didn't expect revenge to come so quickly. Zhao Jiangbei frowned and gritted his teeth. He had to hold on, because soon the guards would come because of the sound of the shot. Suddenly the main character said that it was time for them to stop chatting. The man was scared. Lin Ki raised the gun and fired several shots. The bullets hit Zhao Jiangbei directly in the chest. He fell dead to the floor. Lin Qi glared at him and said that he had finally taken revenge. He opened the desk drawer in Zhao Jiangbei's office. The guy heard footsteps, realizing that help had come quickly. A large, muscular man with glasses and blonde hair was walking down the corridor. His name was Zhao Mo. He was the brother of the head of the Zhao family and C4 level fighters. Walking next to him was a man in a white shirt with gray hair. It was the Zhao family guard, Commander Q, a C2 level mage. Zhao Mo entered the office. He saw Lin Qi and asked who he was. The main character looked at his wrist. He had more than 11,000 days left. He understood that he had to leave. The main character looked at Zhao Mo and realized that he looked strong and would be difficult to defeat. Zhao Mo was very angry and he called out to the guy. He clenched his fists and shouted how dare he kill his brother's son. Lin Qi tensed and was surprised, because there was no information anywhere that Zhao Chong had a brother at C4 level. Zhao Mo ran towards the guy, preparing to attack him. The main character was ready to take the blow or dodge. Zhao Mo was very strong, although he was only one level above Zhao Jiangbei, but he was definitely a master who had participated in fierce battles. Lin Qi ran towards the window. Ming ran towards him and shouted that he would not be able to leave. Zhao Mo frowned and said to leave the guy to him. Ming said that he understood and then raised 2 fingers up. A water shield formed between Lin Qi and the window. Ming had rare water abilities. The main character was taken aback and even slightly confused. He quickly came to his senses and prepared to break through the shield. Although waterbenders are not very powerful, they have a much higher status than ordinary benders in this apocalyptic environment where water is in short supply. Lin Qi's burning fist touched the water. He was able to break through the defense using a mountain-shattering blow. The main character broke the glass and jumped out of the window from the 2nd floor. He landed on the ground as shards of broken glass fell near him. Ming and Zhao Mo rushed after him, also running to the window. They jumped out and began to fall down. The men began to look around in search of the guy. There was no one around, there was no noise either. Zhao Mo turned to Ming and ordered him to take care of Zhao Jiangbei while he found Lin Qi. Ming agreed with him. They began to disperse in different directions. A strange rustling sound was heard in the leaves of the trees. Ming frowned and gritted his teeth. He didn't have time to turn around when suddenly Lin Qi punched him in the face. The main character looked angry and focused. He shouted that he couldn't let them save a fool like Zhao Jiangbei. The shockwave threw Ming back several meters. The man decided to attack back. 2 water spheres were flying at the main character. Both shells flew past the guy. Lin Qi turned around and saw a crowd of guards heading towards them. Ming grinned and praised the guy for his skills, after which he said that he was going to die now. The main character frowned and tensed. Zhao Jiangbei should not survive, but this guy, in addition to water abilities, also has healing powers. He couldn't let him save Zhao Jiangbei. Lin Qi ran towards Q with lightning speed. A blue force field appeared around him. While the main character was running towards Q, he realized that he was very quickly filling the air around him with energy. He was really capable. He took a closer look and saw the pendant on Ming's neck and realized that this was the case. Lin Qi pushed himself off the ground sharply. He jumped high and ended up directly above Q. The main character swung, using a blow that destroyed mountains. This caused his opponent to be taken aback. He tried to minimize the damage from Lin Qi's blow by covering his body with his arms. This did not help him, and the protagonist's fist hit him straight in the stomach. The impact was so strong that Ming's ribs were broken. After the impact, he was thrown into the wall of the house, leaving a dent there. Lin Qi managed to take the concentration pendant from him. It was a D-tier weapon, helping to speed up the conversion of air into the carrier's element, and helping to increase attack power. The main character heard someone looking for him to the side. The guards ordered him to be killed, after which the guards began shooting with firearms. Lin Qi deftly maneuvered between the bullets flying at him. The guards were shocked. They did not understand how this could be. They couldn't believe that all their shells missed the guy. One of the guards ordered the chatter to stop, after which he began to reload his pistol. The crowd started shooting at Lin Qi again, but the guy was never shot. While the main character maneuvered between shots, he realized that he did not need to fight them. He needed to find a way to return to the 2nd floor and check whether Zhao Jiangbei had died, after which he had to leave. From behind, Zhao Mo was already preparing to attack him. The main character managed to dodge the attack, and the man's blow hit the ground. Lin Qi slid across the ground. He realized that Zhao Mo was using a sea-level technique, and his gloves were advanced sea-level weapons. The protagonist frowned and thought that if he were slower, he would have died already. At the same time, he thought that Zhao Jiangbei was seriously injured by him and he would not live long. If he takes out this Zhao family member, he will be able to plunder the entire family, and by then his strength and ability level will increase significantly. Lin Qi looked at the unconscious Kming. After that, he turned his gaze to another opponent. Zhao Mo raised his fist and prepared to hit the protagonist in the face. Lin Qi dodged it by jumping back. Zhao Mo stopped running towards the guy. The man began to concentrate power in his hands. He fired a projectile towards the main character using an improved move called Tiger Mouth Strike. This move had the face of a threatening and snarling tiger. The projectile almost overtook the main character, and he realized that he could only attack. He readied his blade. Lin Qi used the Breaking Mountain Punch. The two forces collided, followed by a bright flash of light. A lot of smoke appeared, which began to blind the guards. Zhao Mo was thrown towards the tree. The tree trunk was broken in half and the man was sitting on the ground. The guards were shocked. They could not believe what was happening. Lin Qi's dark silhouette appeared in the middle of the smoke. Blue lightning glowed around the guy. The guards were scared. They couldn't figure out what kind of technique this guy had, and they thought he was at a high level since he knocked out 2 fighters. Lin Qi frowned, horrifying the guards. The main character realized that this is exactly how the lightning rod that created this explosion works. He felt himself overwhelmed with power. Unfortunately, he couldn't use it anymore. He couldn't attract more attention. The guy felt that something was wrong, so he looked in the other direction. Zhao Mo was able to get up and prepared to attack him again, threatening to kill Lin Qi. The main character decided to attack back and also threatened him with death. They began a fierce battle, which was accompanied by a series of blows. Their blows were so fast that the guards stood and could not believe what was happening. Lin Qi continued to hold on. He understood that Zhao Mo was strong. Without the lightning rod, he would not have lasted even 10 hits. However, the main character had no time to waste. He swung one last time, putting all his strength into the blow. Their fists touched, creating a flash of light. After this outbreak, the opponents were thrown in different directions. Lin Qi decided to use silent boots and leave. The guards immediately started shooting again, ordering them not to let Lin Qi leave. The guy ran away with lightning speed, avoiding shots. He was chased by Zhao Mo, who ordered him to stop. The running main character turned around and noted that although the man was strong, he was slower than him. A guard ran up to Zhao Mo and said that the gentleman had turned into a zombie and they couldn't stop him. The man stopped and asked in shock how this happened. He frowned and gritted his teeth, shouting that he would definitely find out who the main character was. Lin Qi sat on a tree branch and watched. He saw Zhao Mo hurriedly running into the house. There was a fountain in the courtyard that splashed water in different directions. Zhao Zhongbei was rampaging in his office after being turned into a zombie. Lin Qi stood up and extended his hand, saying that he had avenged his sister. The guy took one last look at the view from the tree. After that, he silently jumped from there to the ground. The main character calmly walked further along the territory of the mansion towards the exit. Headquarters of the Marauder Knights. Their building looked like a high-tech sports palace. In the training room, the Marauders sparred with each other. There was a door in the hallway that led to the main headquarters office. The gray-haired man sat in his chair with his back to the door. On its wall hung the head of a lion, and on the floor there was a tiger carpet. Zhao Chong walked into the office with a guilty face, looking bashfully at the floor. The gray-haired man's name was Wu Qisheng, the commander-in-chief of the Marauding Knights. He was wearing a white shirt and a yellow robe. Wu Qisheng held a book in his hands and turned to Zhao Chong. He threw his book at the man with all his might. The book hit Zhao Chong directly on the head, causing him to grit his teeth. The book fell to the floor and Zhao Chong grabbed his head. Wu Qisheng asked rudely how he dared to bring such news. He shouted if Zhao Chong knew how much effort he put into this plan. The man began to sweat and began to shake. Zhao Chong tried to argue with Wu Qisheng, who was his uncle. He bashfully said that it was an accident and he didn't want to ruin the plan. Wu Qisheng put his fist under his head and said that if something goes wrong this time, only Zhao Chong and he will not be able to escape punishment. Zhao Chong put his hand on his chest and asked what Lin Qi could do to them. He spread his arms to the sides and shouted that a little more, and the city would belong to Wu Qisheng. Wu Qisheng answered him that there was no need to rush because external economic ties had not yet been established. Zhao Chong furrowed his brows and his pupils shrank. He asked if there were enough zombies left outside to break down the gate. His uncle took a cigar and asked about the gate. He replied that the head of the city also had knights errants and protectors. Marauders would be useless. He lit a cigar and allowed someone to enter. The doors opened abruptly and a blond man entered the room. Zhao Chong turned around. The one who entered was named Quan Tai. He was the deputy head of the marauding knights. He was dressed in a black uniform. Smoking Wu Qisheng ordered everyone to mobilize before dawn and catch Lin Qi, getting the original files directly into their hands. Zhao Chong smiled crazily and said that Lin Qi is just a small child, and all the marauder knights will definitely catch him before dawn. Wu Qisheng pointed his finger at him and ordered him to be locked up. Zhao Chong was taken aback. He couldn't believe it. Huan Tiai grabbed him, after which the man asked why his uncle did this to him. Wu Qisheng took the cigar in his mouth and replied that if anything went wrong, his life would become bait. Zhao Chong began to shake with fear and asked what this meant. His uncle lit a cigarette and replied that all the things were made by the Zhao family, and his Wu family knew nothing about it. While Quan Tai was holding Zhao Chong, the man asked if his uncle was going to use him as a scapegoat. Wu Qisheng turned away from him and replied that they needed success and failure was unacceptable. Quan Tai approached his fighters, who were lined up. He showed a photo of the main character and said that this man's name is Lin Qi, and he is the most wanted man in the city. He told his army that the reward for whoever caught him was 10,000 days and promotion to commander. The guy with green hair asked who this guy is, since they give such a reward for him. His friend answered him that he was a simple fighter. The guy said that the reward for him was higher than for a C5 level fighter. Huan Tai frowned and ordered his soldiers to start searching. All the marauders smiled, already imagining how the reward for capturing Lin Qi would go to them. The army rode into the city on motorcycles and military vehicles. A group of marauders found themselves behind Lin Qi, who was walking through the city at night. The main character turned around worriedly, looking at the marauders. A guy with green hair and his colleague with a sword in their hands were riding on a motorcycle. Lin Qi hid around the corner, not understanding why the marauders were traveling in groups around the city. The wheels of the motorcycle were rolling along the asphalt road. The guys on the motorcycle stopped. The hatted marauder pointed at Lin Qi and asked if it was him they were looking for. His friend lit a cigarette and responded negatively. He said that hundreds of people are looking for him. It cannot be that it will help them that much. He exhaled tobacco smoke and said that tomorrow he was leaving the city for resources, so he needed to save energy. Lin Qi continued to watch them. He remembered that the marauders were controlled by the Wu family, and if he wanted to live, he just had to hold out until dawn. Lin Qi walked down a dark alley wearing a black mask. Suddenly something alerted him, and he turned his head. Zhao Mo suddenly attacked him. The force of the blow threw the guy into the wall of the building, leaving a dent there. Zhao Mo started walking towards the surprised protagonist and said that he had finally found him. Lin Qi wiped his face with his hand and asked if he had come to him again. The main character frowned, realizing that this place was too close to the shelter. It was impossible to fight. He quickly ran in the other direction, leaving Zhao Mo behind. The man smiled, lowering his head. He looked up and ran after the guy. Zhao Mo caught up with him, blocking Lin Qi's escape route. The man was very angry. He frowned and bared his teeth. The main character tensed, realizing that he urgently needed to come up with a plan. He used his lightning rod skill and red lightning appeared around him. He ran furiously towards his enemy. Zhao Mo and Lin Qi collided in the air, punching each other. The main character kicked the man right in the face. There were flashes of light and lightning all over the street due to their battle. Zhao Mo frowned. Bruises were already visible on his face. He noticed that with the strengthening skill, Lin Qi's strength increased. He stopped the main character's blow with his hand and shouted that he had killed Zhao Jiangbei and the others. He was not destined to live until the morning. Zhao Mo hit Lin Qi back, but he also managed to block. While the main character was holding back the enemy's blows, he realized that he could not be defeated with ordinary blows. He crossed his arms, protecting his bodies from Zhao Mo's attacks. The guy could not waste much energy, because he was being persecuted not only by the Zhao family and the Wu family, but also by the entire Quancheng. Zhao Mo jumped up and swung his leg. As soon as the world learns that physical strength can exist with elemental strength in one body, Lin Qi will be experimented on. The main character blocked Zhao Mo's powerful attack, and the ground beneath them broke. He could use his lightning against him. He must take his sister and leave the city. Lin Qi was already having difficulty holding back the man's onslaught. He hit the guy with his knee, but the main character was able to hold back the attack. Zhao Mo swung his fist with all his might and ordered Lin Qi to die. Suddenly, a realization came to the main character, and his eyes opened wide. He attacked back and a shockwave formed between their fists. Zhao Mo was thrown back, but managed to stay on his feet. Lin Qi was also knocked back and was also able to maintain his position. He lowered his head and put his hand on his shoulder, saying that he forced him. He crossed his arms and began to intensively prepare to attack Zhao Mo. The man frowned, not understanding what he was going to do. Lin Qi had a lot of lightning around him and looked concentrated. The sky above the city was dark, but it was illuminated by hundreds of bright stars. Someone called Zhao Mo and said that he had found that girl and Lin Qi's sister. The main character tensed and got scared, realizing that we were talking about Zhu Wei and his sister. Zhao Mo smiled cheekily and admitted that he was strong, after which he said that he now has hostages. The guy tried to maintain his composure and asked what he wanted. The man extended his hand and ordered the files to be handed over, after which he let them go. Lin Qi frowned and asked if he thought he had the flash drive with him. He himself understood that this was his last trump card, and if he gave it up, then that would be the end. Zhao Mo handed him the phone and gave him 10 seconds to think, otherwise he would give the order to kill them. The main character frowned at the man, realizing that he had to save his sister. Zhao Mo smiled evilly and said that his sister apparently was not very dear to him. He picked up the phone, where the interlocutor asked him if he had caught the guy. Zhao Mo replied that he had caught Lin Qi and had it. The interlocutor asked what happened to the files, to which the man turned his head to the guy and replied that the main character refused to give them up, so he would have to kill him. The interlocutor ordered not to kill Lin Qi until they received the files, and told him to bring him here. Zhao Mo frowned and replied that he understood everything. He turned his back to the main character and said that he was lucky this time. Lin Qi frowned, thinking that the only way to negotiate with them was through a flash drive. After some time, they were already driving together in the car. The main character looked very angry. The car stopped near one of the buildings of the marauding knights. Lin Qi got out of the car and asked if this was the looters' headquarters. Zhao Mo stood next to him and replied that the marauder headquarters was the safest place in the city for those who had never seen the outside world. If an accident occurred, this place could be turned into a shelter. They went inside, where armed soldiers were already waiting for them. The marauders looked at Lin Qi as he entered. They were all sea-level fighters. They surrounded the guy from all sides. He understood that he himself would not survive here, much less his sister. He frowned, but was glad that he had hidden the files. Then he put the flash drive in a box, which he buried underground near a tree. A man with a tousled hairstyle watched Lin Qi at the headquarters. Next to the main character stood a second guard with blonde hair. They were dressed in green and yellow kimono. The main character understood that each of them was at least C4 level. Something suddenly made Lin Qi taken aback and surprised. Wu Qixing came out to them, and the main character remembered that he was the head of the marauding knights. He looked at his elderly face. Rumor has it that he is level C9. Wu Qixing turned his head and looked at the guy secretly. This scared him even more. The main character couldn't believe that he had the upper levels of C9 and not more. He frowned and gritted his teeth. One look from Wu Qixing made Lin Qi's body freeze. The head of the Wu family lit a cigar and asked if he was Lin Qi. The guy angrily told him that it was him. Wu Qixing removed the cigar from his mouth and said that he was brave. But you shouldn't talk to him like that. Lin Qi clenched his fist and shouted to ask where his sister was. Wu Qixing waved his hand with the cigar, signaling to his subordinate. The guard opened the large glass door. A wheelchair rolled out, its wheels squeaking. The comatose sister Lin Qi was sitting in the stroller, and Zhu Wei was walking next to her. The stroller was being driven by a guy with glasses. Zhu Wei saw the main character and called his name in alarm. Lin Qi was happy to see them. He asked if they were okay. Zhu Wei clenched her hand into a fist and replied that they were fine. The main character frowned angrily. He believed that his enemies behaved too kindly to appear noble. Wu Qixing calmly looked at him and said that he did not harm them, and he could get the services of the best doctor in this city. Use the most advanced medical equipment to cure Sister Lin Qi. He narrowed his eyes and added that he could do this in exchange for the files. The main character looked embittered. He knew that as soon as he returned the files to them, they would all die, but this could be avoided if he held out until dawn. The old man frowned and said not to waste time. These words surprised Lin Qi. He realized that the old man was not bad. He tried to calm down and then said that his sister was shot down by Zhao Jiangbei, so he killed him. And he also killed the remaining Zhao brothers. He asked if they would really just let him go. Wu Qixing mysteriously lit a cigar and replied that he promised. Lin Qi frowned and bared his teeth, thinking that he would never believe him. The door to the room swung open and Zhao Chong walked in, shouting that it was impossible. He aggressively pointed his finger at Lin Qi and shouted that he couldn't let him go. Zhao Chong turned to his uncle and shouted that Zhao Jiangbei and the others were dead, so they couldn't let the guy go. He began to angrily argue that if Lin Qi did not have the files with him, he would definitely reveal their location under the leaks. The old man silently took a drag of tobacco smoke. He hit Zhao Chong on the head and replied that he was the person who couldn't prevent it. There were bruises on the man's face, and he looked at Wu Qixing in fear. The old man threateningly asked the beaten Zhao Chong if he would have been standing here if not for the misdeeds of the Zhao family, and added that if he violated his plan, then he would no longer be a tenant. The words about the plan alerted Lin Qi, and he frowned. Wu Qixing looked at him and asked what he thought. He spread his arms and said that the best medical team was under his control, and even if his sister did not fully recover, she would receive decent care. The guy was very angry. He believed that the old man had no right to talk about this, but if he killed him, then Lin Qi would not live to see tomorrow. Quan Tai approached Wu Qixing and told him that it was late. The old man looked at the main character and said that if he doesn't want it in a good way, then he will do it in a bad way. He threw his cigar on the floor. The cigar fell on the parquet, after which ashes fell. Wu Qixing said that he would leave this matter to Quan Tai. The old man headed in the other direction. Quan Tai began to stretch his shoulders and told him that in 10 minutes the task would be guaranteed to be completed. He raised his hand and ordered the guards to take his sister and Zhu Wei away. The girl was grabbed by the hand and tried to ask Lin Qi for help. The guard began to hurriedly lead them out of the room. A guy with short hair ran into the room and told the captain that the lord of the city had come to see them. This made Wu Qixing taken aback and surprised. He threw away the second cigar and asked how many people the city lord had brought with him. The guy told him that he had brought only one, and they would be here soon. The old man looked down and said that it should be his assistant, a C6 level fighter. He headed towards the exit and ordered people to be brought and not to make noise here. Quan Tai went with him. Lin Qi, his sister and Zhu Wei were taken to another room. The guard crossed his arms and told them that if they dared to resist, he would kill them on the spot. Lin Qi frowned. He realized that the lord had seen those files, and the Zhao and Wu families were finished. Quan Tai approached Wu Qixing and told him that the city lord used to be a B-level enhanced, but recently he was severely injured and became a C9 level. He wanted to suggest just killing them. The old man stopped abruptly in place. He lit a cigar and said that the lord of the city was used to peace and it was too late for him to get involved in conflicts, and he brought only one fighter with him. Zhao Chong approached him and said that if they deal with them today, then they will not have to implement their plan, and the residents will be calm and happy. He congratulated his uncle. Hearing their conversation, Lin Qi was surprised and wondered why they were against the lord. He looked at the door and the guard standing next to it. He thought that his level was only C5. If he was attacked on the sly, there should be no problem. However, there should be plenty of security outside. The main character tensed up and thought that this is all the elite who are fighting the remaining zombies day by day. There are 4 types of knight in Quanqing. These are Knights of Glory, Protection, Marauders, and Wanderers. One of the main tasks of Marauders is to hunt time zombies and collect available supplies. This means that the strength of the Marauders is comparable to the strength of the defenders who guard the city. Wu Qixing frowned as he watched the guests enter. The lord of Quancheng City and his assistant entered the hall. The lord was a short, gray-haired old man with a cane. His assistant was dressed in a black outfit. Wu Qixing looked at him and greeted him. The lord looked back at him and asked why he couldn't sleep today. As soon as they approached each other, Wu Qixing asked why he was here. The city lord frowned and asked in response what he thought. Wu Qixing turned to Zhao Chong and ordered him to kneel down. Zhao Chong fell to his knees and said guiltily to the city lord and said that he was wrong. However, he was also worried about Quancheng's well-being. The lord looked down at him angrily and asked sternly why they were conducting experiments on innocent people. Zhao Chong told him that this experiment was almost a success, and if it was successful, zombies would no longer threaten their city. He lowered his head down and said that the humans would also return to their position as the dominant force on Earth without hiding. The city lord frowned and replied that they should not experiment with the lives of innocent people anyway. Wu Qixing looked at the lord, not understanding why he looked full of life if there were rumors about the old man's condition deteriorating. He clenched his hands into fists, thinking that if everything went according to plan, they would achieve their goal. If they act now and if something goes wrong, then all the hard work will go down the drain. Wu Qixing hit Zhao Chong on the back and told the lord that it was his fault for doing this, and then asked him to give Zhao Chong to him and deal with him. The frightened head of the Zhao family looked up and realized that his uncle wanted to kill him. Zhao Chong stood up from his knees and shouted that his uncle wanted him to become a scapegoat, which was impossible. Wu Qixing frowned, realizing that everything was not going according to plan. He looked at Quan Tai, who immediately understood everything. Quan Tai crept up to the back of the lord's assistant and twisted his neck. The city lord turned around in surprise. Wu Qixing got angry and shouted to the lord that he had put up with him for a long time when they were putting things in order together, after which he asked why he became the lord of the city. The city lord frowned and asked suspiciously what he wanted to do. Wu Qixing spread his arms and asked if he really didn't understand. He shouted to him that he would die that night, so it was better for him to immediately give up power so that he would leave his body intact. The city lord became angry and asked if he should hand over power to him. Wu Qixing looked at him from under his brows and replied that he was already dying and was just pretending to be a B-level fighter. He ordered all this to stop, after which the guards began to attack the city lord. Lin Qi tensed up, realizing that Wu Qixing and his staff wanted to kill the lord. But this was a good moment to escape. He turned to Zhu Wai and asked her to close her eyes. This surprised the girl, but she obeyed him, after which she closed her eyelids. Lin Qi clenched his fists and shouted while using the lightning rod skill. A bright aura appeared around him and he walked towards the guard. The main character was able to defeat the man with one blow to the head. He turned to his sister and Zhu Wai and called them to follow him. The three of them headed towards the exit. Zhu Wai was pushing a stroller with her sister. At this time, the city lord used his skill. In one move, he was able to knock down all the guards. Wu Qixing fell to his knees and asked why he was still so strong. In a panic, he grabbed his phone and ordered his plan to begin. The city lord frowned and asked what the plan was. Wu Qixing started laughing and said that this is a plan to bring chaos to this city. He said that it would not be long before the time zombies broke through the gates of their city. This made the lord taken aback. He was shocked. Lin Qi also heard this conversation. He tensed, realizing that for the sake of revenge on the lord they wanted to destroy the city. The city lord took out his phone. He was informed that wandering zombies had suddenly gathered and for some reason were approaching the city gates. As soon as he heard this, he walked towards Wu Qixing and kicked him, ordering him to die. Wu Qixing was thrown back and his back hit the wall. Lin Qi was already running into the hall to leave the building. The city lord was able to cut another guard in half with his cane. The main character ran with Zhu Wai, who was giving sister Lin Qi a ride. She asked what they would do. They went out onto the roof, where they had a view of the beautiful city in the night. Explosions began to thunder below. They approached the edge of the roof. Zhu Wai asked what was going on here. Aggressive zombies wandered below, ready to attack anyone. Lin Qi tensed and frowned. He opened the system window of the goods store.